Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the stage, Kevin Smith.
That is so sweet. Right before I came out, Jay goes, "This is the biggest crowd we're playing to." I was like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, it's like 2,800 people. It's a lot of fucking folks, man. Thanks for coming." I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of, for most of you know, I'm an imbiber of the green. And back home, there's a constant strain that keeps me the person that I always am. But when you're on the road, you're kind of at the mercy of the local greenery. And so I've been Melburning it all day long. It's not my normal strain, so like I'm a little bit all over the place tonight. I was just on what was the project, and like I watched the clip afterwards. I just rambled for like 7 minutes straight. So bear with me, but I'm gonna share a moment that I had with you in Australia. It was very fucking cool. I'm on a balcony smoking. I try not to be shitty about smoke. I'm not one of those people who's like, "I love weed," you know, only on podcasts. But in the real world, I kind of keep it discreet, particularly in countries where it's illegal. So I'm enjoying a smoke on my balcony by myself, what I feel like is myself, at the hotel, not the hotel here, but a hotel. And you know, as I smoke, you know, I'm kind of using that moment to center. You know, so often we live our lives trying to get to the future, and when we're not doing that, we lament the past, and so our head's up the ass of the past and stuff. Very rarely do we focus on the moment, and that's what I love about weed. It allows me to be like, I'm here right now. You know, some people meditate for that kind of shit. I smoke it. So I'm doing that where I'm like, holy fuck, man. Dude came from New Jersey, and now I'm fucking in Melbourne, Australia. I never thought that would fucking happen, and I've always like heard the name and stuff. I've been here before. It's my 4th time out here. But still, it's just like, what a cool thing this is. So I was appreciating what I got and shit like that, real centered in the moment, and then all of a sudden I hear this. And it's one of those coughs where somebody's like, "Hey, I don't like you smoking." You know, which could go for anybody. It could go for like a normal cigarette smoker as well and stuff like that. So I kind of discreetly pull back into the balcony a little bit more towards the building and stuff because I figure, all right, maybe it's me or something. And I don't smoke for a minute or two, and I wait for everything to pass. Sounds like it's okay. So then, you know, I take another hit, and just go back to smoking and go back to my train of thought and stuff. And all of a sudden I hear it again, and it gets louder. I say, "Hey, fucker," you know. So, you know, I got a little paranoid, but then I was like, whatever. Like, well, I'm an adult. What the fuck's gonna happen? Like, don't be afraid. You're a grown up now. You know, you can't get that much trouble, and you know. So I continue smoking, and then finally my man goes beyond the and flat out calls out from whichever balcony he is near me, "Stop smoking marijuana!" And I freaked the fuck out, man, because very rarely does somebody put it on Front Street like that, out loud for the general public to hear and shit like that. But the weirdest thing is the strain that I'm smoking, I'm like, again, I'm all over the joint and shit, so I fucking responded with the first thing. I shouldn't have responded at all. My normal instinct would be to run into the fucking room and shit, but instead, like, I was frozen, like fucking deer in headlights and shit. And this is what instinctively fucking came out of me. I went, "Never!" So the Melbourne strain is very defiant. All right, man, so what we got tonight is an evening where we're going to spend a little bit of time Q&A and stuff, and when I say a little bit of time, about an hour and 15 minutes, then we take a break, and then we come out with Jay and do Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, man, and that's the real shit. Now, an hour and 15 minutes for Q&A, to some people it sounds like a lot of time, but if you've ever been to one of my Q&As, it's about half an answer to no question. We'll kind of try to briskly get through things. I can't promise we'll get to a fuck ton of questions, so don't line up or anything like that. I don't know where the microphones are. Where are they? Over there? Out on the ends? There? And there. Okay. Right now, like, who was it, 2, 3 people lined up? That's it. Like, we might not get to the second one, to be honest with you. So rather than get up and like lose your seat for most of the show leaning on a wall, relax. I think we might probably get to just these cats and that's it and whatnot. But here's the reason why. I extend, everything is very fucking long. It's not a simple story. For example, I want to start by telling you something that happened recently in my family, that kind of defining moment for all of us and shit like that. But in order to tell you that story, I have to tell you a side story completely. But I'm only saying it, it's going to sound braggy at first, but I'm only saying it because it helps me tell the other story. Recently, I lost 85 pounds. It was for some people who are heavy set like me and whatnot, who are always looking for the secret. Like I remember when fucking Seth Rogen lost a fuck ton of weight, man. I said, dude, how the fuck do you do it? And he's like, you eat less and you exercise. And I was like, yeah, but fucking what's the secret? How do you So this is the secret, man. Like, normally heavy folks want to know what the secret is. This is the fucking secret. I just dropped sugar out of my diet altogether. Any processed or added sugar, I just pulled out of my life, man. That's across all the boards and shit. Which means your diet goes real basic and whatnot. The only liquids I drink are like water, green tea or unsweetened iced tea, and milk. I'm a real fucking milk whore, man. I drink a lot of milk. So that's the only sugar I get in my life. That's why I like milk so much. It's got lactose in it. So closest thing I get to sugar anymore is the fucking milk. So it's possible. You just got to take it out of your life, and it falls the fuck off. I didn't change my exercise regime or anything like that. Didn't go more intense. The only exercise I do every day is I walk my dogs up the hill. It's about 1.5 miles up and back and stuff. I usually walk with Jay. So if you're ever driving around the Hollywood Hills, you may take a left and be like, holy fuck, Jay and Silent Bob walk dogs. So that's the only exercise, and I sweat, but I sweat when I breathe, so that's about it. So it's just pushing sugar away. Now, if you're trying to cut sugar out of your life, I warn you, it's like cutting any drug out of your life or something like that you've grown attached to. They say that the same centers of your brain light up when you do a line of cocaine, light up when you eat sugar. So it's tough when you think about separating yourself from it. Like right away, you're like, yeah, it sounds easy. By day 2, I promise you, you will be ready to fucking suck dick for Tim Tams. I was. I speak from experience. But if you can get to 2 weeks, man, you'll get through the rain and stuff. It only takes about 2 weeks to create a new neural pathway for anything and stuff. And if you ever find yourself in a routine, I read an article, drive to work the same pattern all the time, the same exact pattern, whatnot. They said change it up for 2 weeks, just take a completely different pattern. It opens up a whole new way of thinking, because you're opening up a whole new neural pathway and stuff. So after 2 weeks of no sugar, suddenly I can look at sugar in a different way, as opposed to I need it to live and shit. It was my happy and whatnot. Now I could look at it and just be like, oh, I get it. It's fun and it's sweet and shit. But I got to treat it like a crazy ex-girlfriend where I'm like, I fucking love you and fucked you every way I could and vice versa, but you're killing me. I got to go, Just keep a healthy distance from the shit. So the problem with dropping the fucking weight is that my underwear really fucking fell apart on me, man. They started sagging to the back of my knees like old lady underwear and stuff. And this is gross to admit, but I gotta share it in order to keep the story going. I was wearing 3XL underwear. Now, some people who don't know men's underwear is like, he must have a huge cock. That has nothing to do with the X's don't go here, they're here. This is like 3 concaved X's or something like that. So it's just the waist. And so when the waist shrunk, the underwear started sagging back here and whatnot. So my wife was like, this is embarrassing. You've got to fucking commit to some new underwear. She's like, I know you're not going to change the hockey jersey, but fucking get new underwear. And I was like, yeah, and she's like, especially lose that shit, because I've been wearing for the last few years maroon underwear. I don't get to buy my underwear like normal folks and shit like that. I'm sure most cats are wearing like Calvin Klein or whatever the Australian fucking equivalent is and stuff like that. But I can't do that. I gotta go to a fat guy store to buy my underwear. Every store I shop at has XL in it and stuff. And when I go to get underwear, I don't get name brands. There's a brand that I guess it's a name brand, but it's a fat guy name brand. It's Harbor Bay. That's the underwear I wear and shit. The ones laughing right now, they wear it too. They're like, I recognize that brand. So, one time I went in to buy the fucking underwear, and, I normally wear like tidy whities and shit, and I saw they had a different color. It was maroon underwear, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna buy that. Bought a 3-pack, and I took it home, and I showed my wife, and she's like, that's disgusting. I said, why? She's like, maroon? Why would you choose maroon? And I was like, I'm expressing my individuality, my belief in personal freedom and shit. And she was like, it's ridiculous, don't wear those. And I was like, why? And she's like, I'm the only person other than you who sees the underwear. She's like, appreciate what I want. And I was like, fair enough, fair enough. So I went and bought 12 more fucking pairs. Fuck her, deal with it. So I've been wearing them for years, and she hates it. She's always bitching about them. She goes, ew, the fucking maroons, every time I pack to go out and shit. So I lost some weight. She told me to get some new underwear, so I go to get some new underwear and shit. And she's counting on me to come home with the maroons to irritate her and shit. And I go to the rack, and instead of going to 3XL, which is where I normally go, I get to move down to just XL with no numbers in front of it. And I was so proud and shit. But as you can tell by the mostly silence, there are a bunch of people going, that's still bad. We'll get there, all in good time and shit like that. So I go to the XL side, and I go to pick out my trusty maroons in a smaller size and shit, but then I see another pair, a 3-pack I'd never seen before, and I was like, oh shit, maybe it's time for a change. So I bought a 3-pack of black underwear again. So I take them back to the hotel. I was in Atlanta when I bought them. And I was texting my wife, Jennifer, and I was just like, hey, I finally bought the new underwear. And she goes, oh, I can't wait to see smaller size maroon. I said, get ready to fucking meet Batman, bitch. I said, I bought me some black underwear. And she was like, no. And she said, send me a picture. And that's when I saw my opening, and I was like, you send me a picture. She says, of what? And I was like, your pussy. And she's like, you little pig. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? I'm in Atlanta and shit. I'm not gonna see you for 2 days. At least we've been together 17 fucking years. I'm still asking to see your pussy. I mean, that's a good thing. You should support that. So she fucking, all right, she sends me a picture of her fucking pussy, and it is hot. It's a specific angle that I haven't seen before, and I've fucking seen this shit, man. So I went to the bathroom and immediately tugged one out and stuff. And then, I had to shower to get it all off me and stuff. So I went and showered, and after I got out of the shower, I went to get dressed, laid out my outfit for the night, and it looked, shockingly like this. And the underwear on the bed was all white and shit, so the underwear is black and it's on, and it looked kind of cool. And shit. I never look at things visually, but I did at this, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking take a picture and send it to her. She wanted to see my underwear, so I snap a picture of it, and since I'm a writer, I can't just send the picture, I have to send an inscription with it, and so I wrote, look at this shit. I said it was a writer, not a good writer. I said, look at this shit. Doesn't it make your pussy wet? I fucking send it, and I'm laughing because I'm like, she's gonna fucking make her giggle and whatnot, but she's gonna be happy that it ain't fucking maroon underwear and stuff. And so I put the phone down on the bed, and that's when I noticed that Jen is the second one down. Now, the mind synapses start firing, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? And you realize that you went to take a shower. She was the last one you were texting with, but while you were showering, somebody else texted you, and fucking you just assumed it was her, still the top text. And you just sent her a picture of underwear with a filthy little fucking phrase, and the person who received the text wrote back a one-word response, just said, Dad? she had texted me, my daughter, while I was in the shower, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Some shit goes beyond a simple text response. I wasn't going to send a unsmiley emoji or something like that. Immediately called her ass up and was like, oh my God, you know that was not meant for you. That was meant for your mother. And look, no man should ever talk to a lady like that. She was cool, man. She didn't miss a beat. She was just like, you know I'm gonna need lots of therapy, right? I was like, we got the money and stuff. I said, I'm really, really sorry, man. But you should be happy to see your parents are still frisky with one another, I guess. Looking for the fucking silver lining to this dark cloud. And she wrote back, I was just happy to see you've moved away from Maroon. All right, we're gonna dive over to you, man. Q&A. You provide the Q. I'm gonna A as much as I can fucking A, and we'll do this until we take people the time. They told me we have to go strict because we're hard out at 11 o'clock this evening, and we still have the whole Jay show to do. So it's 8:22 now. So we got a full hour from this point forward. 9:22. Fuck Jay. Here we go. I'll take 5 minutes from him. He don't care. Here we go, man. So you start. You're wearing a hockey jersey.
I am wearing a hockey jersey.
And your face is on your hockey jersey.
It is. It's actually...
So's mine. You and me are fucking smart. We're never going to lose our clothes.
That's right. No one can steal it.
No, everyone's going to be like, hey, that's you.
It's actually inspired by you. It's for my podcast, which I have you to thank for inspiring me. And
you're a fellow podcaster?
I am.
Tell them the name of your podcast. Pimp it out.
It's called Coming Up Next.
That sounds filthy. Is it a porn podcast? Or?
No, it's about a behind the curtain look at the Australian entertainment industry.
Which is cool, but I think you have a real missed opportunity with the jizzy version. But I'm sure this is.
We do it naked.
How long have you been doing it?
About 3 months.
Right on. Isn't it awesome?
It is amazing.
Anybody who's not doing a podcast right now, shame on you. And I don't want to be negative in reinforcement. Let me just say this. Go record a podcast. Between now and the next time I come back here, probably 2 years from now. I was going to say 1 year, but I don't want it to feel like homework. 2 years. 2 years you got. Go out and record a podcast like my man right here, man. Look at that. Look how happy he is, man. Number one, it's podcasting is punk rock for people who can't play music at all. Because you can just say whatever the fuck you want, and you can title your fucking podcast whatever you want. And what world is it, man, where you could just put your face on a shirt and people aren't like, ew, you fucking idiot. Because my man can be like, fuck you, it's for my podcast. They're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm sorry. That's really fucking cool. So if you haven't recorded a podcast yet, do it. You don't necessarily have to take it public and shit, but I assure you it's fucking fun to do, man. And right now, ain't a single gatekeeper on the planet will tell you you can't do it. Like, if you want to go make a TV show, you can make any fucking TV show you want. But if you want to show it on TV, you're going to go to a gatekeeper who's going to be like, well, I don't know. Let me see if it's good enough to be on TV, man. If you want to fucking record music, you absolutely can. You can totally put it online and shit, but try playing it on a radio station without some gatekeeper being like, well, let's see if this belongs in here, man. You know, make a movie. Make any movie you want, but try to play it at a multiplex, and there's going to be somebody to stop you and tell you whether your shit's good enough or not. Podcasting, that doesn't exist. Right now, you record a podcast, you send it to iTunes, a day later, they're like, congratulations, you're a fucking broadcaster. And you got an Insta show. And anybody in this room could do a podcast, man. Like, fucking, you've listened to the radio your whole lives, or watched TV your whhole lives, and I guarantee you at a certain point, you've watched some idiot, maybe even tonight, sat there and watched some idiot and said, I'm funnier than this fucking idiot. And you absolutely are. Or, I'm more interesting than this fucking idiot. And you absolutely are, man. I'll tell you why. Because each and every one of you have this insanely fucking unique voice. This prism, very individualistic, through which you view the entire fucking world, everything that's ever happened to you, everything that happens in today, and everything you hope is going to happen to the future. So individualized, it's fucking rare and precious. You know, they pay a lot of money for diamonds and shit. A bunch of rocks come out of the fucking earth. Imagine what you are. Perspective, the things that you've seen, everything you feel. It's unique. It's not like that person's, not like that person's, not like mine. you got a chance to have a platform where you could fucking share that voice. Imagine that. Like, your voice is your only currency in this life. That's all you got, and that's it. Like, you may have looks now, looks fucking fade. And you may have friends, but friends die or go away. That happens. And you may have youth right now, but one day you're gonna be as old as me, or even fucking older and shit, and the grave calls for us all. And the only thing that you carry through this entire life, like currency, the only currency you have, is your voice. Why wouldn't you spend that as often as possible? That's why people are drawn to social media. They can share and fucking share their voice, let people know what they're feeling and stuff. Most times people lean toward the negative. You know, fucking, this is the shit I don't like. But man, with a podcast, you can have a show about whatever the fuck you like in life, man. You don't have to make it about shit other people want. You don't have to measure up to anybody but your own fucking passion level. You can make a podcast not about all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just Leonardo. You'll get to 100 episodes before you're like, and Donatello was a bitch who could suck my dick. There, I said it. You can talk about anything and there's nobody to tell you that's boring or nobody wants to hear that, man. You can share your fucking voice like crazy like this gentleman's doing right now. Take that very precious currency you have, insanely valuable, spend it as often as possible in this life. Don't hold on to it like fucking Scrooge McDuck. Give it out as often as possible. And these podcasts, until somebody figures out a way to charge you how to do it, and trust me, they will one day, or until somebody figures out how to fucking regulate it and put a gatekeeper so that you can't just broadcast anything you want, now is the time to fucking do it, man. It's fun, and it could be a job. You could turn it into something. Here, let me show you simple economics. Because I'm advocating to do it for fun, just for the fucking fun of it. Sit down with a friend, a loved one. This motherfucker talks about the Australian film business and shit. Talk to anyone you want about anything you want. I sat down with my mother once, and I fed her a bunch of weed cake, marijuana-laced cake. And then I just asked her questions about my father, who's been dead for a few years. I was like, what was it like to suck Dad's dick, Mom? And she was like, it was luscious, Tiger, you know. She opened the fuck up. It was wonderful, and I got to talk to a version of my mother I never had before. And then I shared it with the world. Everyone's like, your mom's cool. I was like, right, at least she sucks dick. We know that much. But, you know, one day my mom's going to be gone from this best of all possible worlds, but I got that conversation saved forever. I've done it a few times with her. And I'll tell you right now, we live in the age of the selfie, where we're all stuffing our phones in each other's faces. Every one of us knows what we all look like. We know what our dicks and pussies look like as well, because we snap those. Everybody knows what everything looks like. That's fine. You'll never forget anything. One of the first things to go when you lose a person is the sound of their voice. It's true. It's just scientifically true. That's the thing that goes first. Now, we shove cameras into everyone's faces, so you'll never forget what all your loved ones look like, but you will fucking forget what they sound like, because we don't jam microphones in anybody's faces unless we can say they're important. And I say everybody's fucking important, so jam a microphone in their face. Capture that conversation for you, if for no other reason, man. Just to have a microphone on some of the greatest times you've ever had in your life or something like that, talking to somebody you like. And now, here's the business aspect of it, because I just push for the fun of it, man. Here's what you could do. Here's what's possible, and this is absolutely possible. It's not even pie in the fucking sky. Build yourself up a little audience, man. Let's say you got 5,000 listeners. They will start paying you to put commercials on your podcast. No bullshit. You don't even have to know important people. There are advertising agencies that now work exclusively with podcasts because earballs are valuable. A lot of people are listening to these individualized shows, and so people who market things can market specifically based on the content of these weird shows. We were talking about fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before. If you've got that podcast, you've got 5,000 listeners, somebody will probably approach you and be like, I'll give you $200 to talk up my fucking geek t-shirt website. And you're like, okay. And that's what TV is. And suddenly you're even closer to being a broadcaster. You do that on let's say three ads on one podcast, which is absolutely fucking possible. That's about $800 to $1,000 for just recording the shit you were going to record anyway, just to express yourself. That's enough to quit a day job. And suddenly you are a fucking broadcaster, man. And people go, that happens to other fucking people. It happens to you. You came from the movie world and shit. Fair enough. I did come from another job, makes me a little more high profile. But I'll give you an example of somebody who was low profile, didn't come from my world. There's a guy named Harley Morenstein. He does a show on YouTube called Epic Mealtime. If you've never seen it, check it out. Very funny. Harley Morgenstein was a teacher in Quebec, young as fuck, he's about 20, 25 or something like that. And he's a French-speaking English teacher in Quebec. Grew up in a part of Montreal where they didn't enforce French and shit. So his whole life was teaching fucking kids. And he's like, you know, the kind of guy that had fun with it and shit, where kids would come into class and he would set up a film projector and pull the screen down. And so the kids were like, this is awesome, we're gonna see a movie and shit. And then he'd be like, okay, it's time to do the test. And he'd hand out tests. And then, you know, sooner or later somebody would be like, are we gonna watch a movie today? And he goes, what would make you think that? You know, just to fuck with him and shit like that. So one night he's fucking drunk as a skunk and he decides to fucking make a ridiculous pizza, put some hamburger on it and shit. He videotaped it, turned it into a little YouTube clip, uploaded it and shit like that. Next morning he woke up, had 100,000 fucking hits, man. And he said to himself, I'm an internet chef now. And so he started recording a few more, got together with his friends. They make ridiculous food recipes and shit you would never eat, and just daring type food, and very fun presentation. He got up to episode 3 and he said the kids in school were like, we saw you on the YouTube making weird food, teacher. And he was like, I gotta quit, and he left the school. But he could quit because he got so many hits on his video and stuff, and then he started getting advertising. YouTube is very nice about that. They provide a way for you to earn off of your videos if they get a lot of traction. So now Harley Morgenstein does Epic Mealtime full time. He quit his day job years ago and whatnot, and he was in Forbes magazine, 30 under 30, one of the 30 richest media stars from YouTube under 30 or something like that. He made a fuck ton of money throwing fucking hamburger on a pizza and videotaping and shit like that. He didn't have some movie career that he aggregated over to podcasting from. He's just a dude who had an idea that he liked and he thought it was funny, and other people agreed, and now that's his fucking business, and the dude's richer than me. That's possible, kids. That's not just fucking Cinderella story. It's happening all the fucking time, because these are cats that are willing to spend their currency. They're taking their voice and they're fucking throwing it out there. I suggest all of you do the same, like this guy, who I'm sure has a question. You must have a question.
My question is actually completely related to that. You're someone who is tremendously ahead of the curve. You're always at the forefront, at least from my observation. And I do look at things through Kevin Smith tinted glasses.
Me too.
All the time. He has a huge dick through those glasses. Take them off, not so much.
My question is, what is your advice on how to grow and create that audience, and what is trending, and how to sort of push through to that?
Well, the question is, do you want to be a slave to that? Which is nothing wrong, there's no right or wrong answer, but do you want to start heading into that more treacherous path? Right now, you're in a world where you sit down, say whatever the fuck you want, you have fun and stuff like that. And, you know, you're like, I would like more people to listen. Absolutely, we would all like that. I'll tell you, even where I sit, I fucking go, God, I wish more people would fucking listen. But I'm not going to change what I do to try to catch those listeners, because that's not why I started this in the first place. It was never about, like, how do I build a business or something. I started doing it because I'm like, you're kidding. Nobody will stop me from talking about whatever the fuck I want. Like, by the time we got to my latest podcast, it's called Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs. And I sit down with my friend Matt Myra, and all we do is talk about the old show Frasier. That's it. We're doing unasked for commentary tracks for every episode. You can do a podcast about fucking anything. Now, you can't expect necessarily the world's going to line up and listen to it. Of all the podcasts I do, guess what? The Frasier one, not the most listened to. But that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is because nobody else is doing it, man. And like, I like going through weird small doors or tiny bridges before other people do, but really it comes down to this. What's the alternative? You know, it's like, I want to do that show, but I can't be that dick who's like, well, I won't do it until I'm paid. Nah, that's not what that medium is. And none of those mediums should be. There was a period in my career where I was that guy. In the beginning, with Clerks, I was making it just because I wanted to fucking make it and stuff. And then all of a sudden, somebody bought it and commodified my art or whatever. And, you know, I'm not bitching about that. That's fantastic. That's what I wanted. I was like, shit, buy this shit. It's amazing. But once they do that, then suddenly you get spoiled where you're like, well, I don't need to create anything until I'm getting paid for it. And that's horseshit, man. It took me like 10 years to fucking shake that. With the advent of the podcast, when I started doing it about 9 years ago, that's when I was like, oh yeah, it's just the sheer fucking joy of creating. We all would like to grow a larger audience. So I'm just saying, if it's not a bad thing if you're like, how do I reach wider audience by being, you know, talking about shit more people want to hear about? It's just a slippery slope. Right now it's pure. You're doing it for the love and stuff. If you start going, well, what do they want? That way, at least in my opinion, lies ruin. That's what happens in the middle of my career. Like in the beginning of my career, man, I didn't even have a career, right? Like I wasn't trying to build a career. I just wanted to make Clerks. And it wasn't about like, I think it's genius. I just wanted to fucking see it. It didn't exist. And I would go to the fucking movies with my friends all the time. All the comedies I saw, I loved, but I never saw me and my friends represented on the screen. Now, some people are like, who gives a shit? I don't go to the movies to see myself. I do. A lot of people go to movies just to escape and shit. And so do I. I love popcorn movies. Believe me, I go to the Avengers going, where's my soul in this movie? But most of the flicks I go to now, I've always been going in there looking for me. Because I'll tell you right now, I've never learned anything about who I am sitting in a classroom. And I've never learned anything about who I am sitting in a fucking church. But damn Skippy learned everything about who I am through art, man. Through watching movies, through TV even, reading books, fucking music, like all of those things helped me figure out who the fuck I am. I'm still trying to figure it out at age fucking 45. So the notion of like, you know, Clerks, it wasn't like, I'm gonna start a career. That was just a guy who just wanted to see that movie. I'd go to the movies with my friends, we'd see comedy after comedy, but I never saw myself reflected on the screen, man. Like I'd be like, yeah, it's funny, but like they don't talk about the shit we find funny. How come they don't make comedies where all they talk about is pussy and Star Wars? Like, that's the kind of shit we find funny. How come they don't talk about that? For years I'd say that. One day I had a mind snap where I was like, fucking Kevin, nobody is ever gonna make a movie about the shit you and your friends find funny. They don't know who the fuck you are, and even if they did, they got their own agenda. They got their own stories to tell. Why would they fucking tell yours? If you want to fucking see a movie about the shit you and your friends find funny, you're gonna have to make it. That was fucking Clerks, man. So I made it, started my career, it was great. Once you get a career, which I wasn't expecting, that wasn't the plan. This was like, Clerks was meant to be a calling card movie so that we could get money for the next film. Wound up kind of like blowing open my career, starting it, kickstarting it. But the weird thing is once you have a career, then you're desperate to hold on to it. The only reason I'm telling you this is because it has something to do with wanting a bigger audience. Like, I didn't make Clerks going, how many fucking people will see it? I just wanted to see it. That's it. The only reason that movie exists is because I want to see it. Maybe my friends can see it too. So whatever happened with it was kind of great. And believe me, I wasn't sitting there going, I hope nobody sees it. I hope the world will see it. But that wasn't what I was counting on. I wanted to please myself first. If you start trying to please everybody else, I don't know, you become a whore, right? You please yourself, you're just a masturbator. And nobody minds a masturbator as long as you don't get it on them and shit like that. So, for me, like in the middle of the career, I started trying to hold on to it and go, what do they want? Like, what do they want me to do? I ran out of personal shit to say. Like, the beginning of my career has those movies everybody likes so much and stuff. The early good ones, I call them. That has everything to do with it. It was mined from the life of a real person. Like when I made Clerks, I was that guy. I worked in that convenience store and shit like that. Made Mallrats right after and stuff. All that shit comes out of my life. Clerks was because I worked in the convenience store. I was Dante, my friend Brian Johnson was Randall and shit. I changed our names and I made life a little more interesting, but fucking talked about being in my 20s and shit at that convenience store. I just stole from my real life. I'm not very creative, never have been and stuff. All I do is rip shit out of my own life, change names, and try to make it a little bit funnier and whatnot. And that's because, again, I'm just trying to see me and my friends and my world reflected up there. So Clerks exists because I worked at Quick Stop. Mallrats exists because, like, me and my friends bombed around the mall and shit. No, I never swung from the roof, but I wanted to. Chasing Amy exists because I had that relationship with Joe Adams, the girl who was in the movie, and I was like, who do I want to play me? Ben Affleck. And Dogma exists because I was a Catholic school kid for 8 years who remained an altar boy for fucking 12 years and shit like that, who would laugh out loud every time the priest at Mass was like, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So I just stripped my own life to make those flicks and stuff. Dogma's very inventive, but the other three are just pulled out of real life. And then I run out of real life very quickly because I stopped living a real life. And this is not me complaining. I love everything I do, but I had a chance of being a really interesting fucking person. I could tell because I watch Clerks now. I was like, there was something there. But then I left the real world. I wound up in the arts where they pay you to make pretend for a living. And then you stop growing as an individual and shit. You're a paid child for the rest of your life. And again, I'm not bitching. That's what I wanted and shit like that. But you don't get to be a real human being with the real human being's problems and a real human being's joys and stuff like that. Suddenly your joys are predicated on how people receive your art and stuff, conflicting with your personal joys. Some days it's more important to you that fucking people like your movie than your kid, you know, fucking wants to go play hide and seek and you're like, no, I've got to tweet and shit like that. I've had moments like that, and that's when the arts kind of own you and shit. So in the middle of my career, I tried to hold on to that career big time, going, what do they want? Because I ran out of shit to say. I stripped mine my life. By the time we get to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I'm just making movies about making movies, because that's all I do in my life anymore. Nothing really interesting going on and stuff. After that, I start going, all right, well, what do other people want me to do? Because I want to keep getting paid to make pretend for a living and stuff. And, you know, nothing good came out of that period, really. On Clerks 2, maybe. But after that, man, I got to a place like I made Cop Out, did something I said I would never do, make somebody else's script and stuff. Because I wanted to see before I left the business, maybe this is my future, but that wasn't it. And then I just kind of petered out after Red State, walked away for 3 years. Came back with the Tusk thing, simply because that seemed fun, you know? I made this movie about a guy who turns another guy into a walrus. It's one of the stupidest fucking movies ever made. I don't argue that at all. Tusk is the one movie I've made that I can stand in the face of any criticism. The motherfucker is like, this is my favorite movie you ever made, and it's brilliant. I could be like, isn't it? And if somebody was like, this is the worst piece of shit ever committed to celluloid, I'd be like, isn't it? I'm proud either way. That's a distinctive fucking movie, man. And I'm proud of it because the guy in the middle of that career, the guy who made Jersey Girl, he never would have conceived of making this movie. Because he would have been too busy going, what do they want? What does everyone else want and stuff? I started my career by going, what do I want? And then managed my career in the middle by going, what do they want? Desperate to stay relevant and stay in the business and shit. Then I let it all go and walked away for 3 years and just did this, toured and fucking did the TV show back home. And then with Tusk, suddenly I was back to square one. And it was born almost the same way fucking Clerks was. I just wanted to see that movie. It wasn't about like, what will this do for my career? Because I'll tell you, nothing. But, you know, just like I wasn't thinking, what would Clerks do for my career? I just wanted to see it. Same with that movie. We were on a podcast. We were sitting there talking about fucking the story we read online, right in England. Some guy was offering a room for rent. He said you could live in his mansion, completely rent-free. You just got to stay out of his bedroom and his workshop. In exchange for living at the house, for 2 hours a day, you had to dress up like a walrus in a very convincing walrus costume that he made, and he was eating flesh and crabs. And you couldn't talk in a human voice, you could only talk in the voice of a walrus and shit. So I was like, this is fascinating. It turned out to be a hoax. It didn't really exist. But we thought it was real for like a good 3 weeks and shit. And like, so did a lot of people in Brighton, England. The dude had 2,000 people signed up who were like, fuck it, I'll be a walrus. So we're talking about the podcast. I was like, fuck, man, this is insane. You're going to show up, this dude's going to fucking crack you over the head, sew you into that suit, and instead of the human fucking centipede, you're going to be the human walrus. And you're going to have to live like that forever. And me and Scott Moser, the dude I did the show with on the podcast, as I'm sure you know, we just sat there and fucking did what we normally do on Smodcast, which is not for money, just for fucking fun. Just sit there and created a dopey fake movie about a guy who wants to turn another guy into a walrus, this kind of Frankenstein story and shit. And I fell in love with it. You could hear it on the actual podcast, Smodcast 259. You hear me fucking fall in love with the idea of this movie. I want to see it bad, man. And I'm like, where are all the brave filmmakers who will make this man-to-walrus transformation movie? And I remember I used to be a brave filmmaker in the beginning of my career and shit. And suddenly I was like, oh, fuck, man, this is possible. I could do it. Had another mind snap, just like the one on Clerks, man. Because I was like, Kevin, nobody in their right mind is ever going to make the stupid fucking walrus movie, dude. I know you're laying it out for them beat for beat because you want somebody to do it, but that's never going to fucking happen. if you want to see this fucking movie about a guy who turns another guy into a walrus, and it fucking sounds like you do, like, you know the path, make it. You're the only one who's gonna do it, shit. And so, you know, on the podcast, you can hear me change, where I'm like, fuck this is mine, I am gonna do this. And then I said, hashtag to the audience, I said, hashtag on Twitter, walrus yes if you think it's a good idea, or walrus no if you think I'm wasting my time. If there's enough walrus yes, I'm gonna try writing a script. And that's the thing, it wasn't any of this kind of like, I'm gonna fucking do this by hook or by crook. It was pushing whimsy. I don't believe in that whole kind of like, I got a fucking 5-year plan, or I got a vision, stand back. Not at all. You gotta be malleable in life and shit. You need a reasonable amount of unreasonability, not just total unreasonability where you're like, look out world, these are my demands. No, the world ain't like that and shit like that. So for me, I was always just kind of like reasonable amount of unreasonability, not like this unmanageable kind of ego trip of like, I'm gonna do what I want, man. You just push whimsy. That's what I felt like it was, pushing whimsy every day. Like I'd wake up and I'd say, let me see if I can write a few pages of stupid walrus movie. And I started writing it. By the time we put the podcast up, next day on Twitter, there's a fuck ton, a sea of walrus yes tweets. There was one walrus no. Now, today, if you go to Twitter, a fuck ton of walrus no. But that don't count, because they seen the movie, man, you know. Back in the day, one walrus no. And that guy said, look, I'm really walrus yes. I'm just saying walrus no to support the democratic process. And I was off and running, man, simply because a bunch of strangers said skate. And that never fucking happens, man. You never hear that from a bunch of people, or fucking even the people in your own life most days. Nobody ever really tells you to skate, man. When you're a kid, they'll tell you to do anything you want. Skate, go out, have fun, you're amazing, you can do anything. When you become an adult, they're like, fuck you, you're on your own and shit. And if you tell people you want to skate, they will tell you not to. They'll be like, sit down, that ain't for you. Take your fucking, unlace. You can't be out there, that's for better people. You're gonna embarrass yourself out there. Don't fucking skate, go over there and do something else. Very rarely does somebody go skate, bitch. Lace it up, fucking go for the horizon. I don't care if you're good at it or not, it's just fucking fun. Do it because you wanna. Don't worry about the results. Skate, go as far as you can and never fucking come back. That's what the audience did that day with that walrus yes shit. You know, they did it because they were like, this sounds like a hoot. Believe me, I understand. If the internet tells you to do something, you probably shouldn't do it. But in this instance, it didn't fucking matter to me. I know the internet is usually like your friend at a party when you're fucking drunk. And you're like, guess what, everybody? I'm gonna take my fucking cock out now. And your friend is like, do it. Send. Didn't matter. This motherfucker said skate. They were like, go ahead, write your walrus picture. And I was like, all right, maybe I will. And so every day I just pushed a little whimsy, man. Anybody could have talked me off of it because I don't have a strong spine. I'm not like one of those fucking cats knows who the fuck he is and shit like that. For years, I've always been kind of weak-willed and shit like that. Like, I'll tell you what, man, I advocate for things and shit. I'm the kind of guy that's like, this is it. This is the move. And the moment fucking majority is like, that blows. I'm like, you're right. Let's kill it, everybody. I'm that guy. That's why I'm drawn to people with strong spines, like Jason Mewes, Ben Affleck, my friends Brian and Walter. These were fucking people who knew exactly who they were. It's still to this day and shit. I find that exciting. I try to borrow that from them all the time. Walter Flanagan, motherfucker, like, I worked with him at a recreation center. Tell him Steve Davis. King of the Ants. Walter and I worked together at the rec center in Highlands, man, and didn't talk for 8 months. Like, we'd sit there working with kids, latchkey kids, come home from school, play kickball, foosball with them, play pool. Kids all around us, always interacted with them, but we never spoke to each other. So 8 months into the job, finally, I'm like, hey man, we're playing foosball, 2 little kids and shit. I was like, hey man, I hear you like comic books. And he's like, I do. And I was like, yeah, I used to read them too, man, when I was a kid, but then I gave them up when I went to high school because I wanted to get laid instead. And he goes, what the fuck's that supposed to mean? Like, serious as a heart attack. And I was like, oh, you know, it's just fucking, most people are like, comics are for kids and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, here, he gave me a copy of The Dark Knight Returns, trade paperback. And he goes, take that home and read that, and we'll have a conversation tomorrow. And he went back to playing the game and said nothing else. So I went home and I fucking read it, and as most people in this room probably know and agree, The Dark Knight Returns is one of the greatest pieces of American literature ever produced. Just happens to have pictures in it as well. well. I came back transformed, man, like fucking Saul struck down on the road to Damascus, changes his fucking name by one letter and becomes Paul and shit like that. Suddenly went out preaching the fucking gospel of Batman. I went into work the next day and I was like, this is fucking astounding, dude. Like, this is comic books? He goes, yeah, that is comic books. So don't talk about this kid shit. Next time somebody tells you that comics are for kids, you show them a picture of Batman breaking somebody's fucking spine. That's not for kids, that's metal. I liked him right away. I was like, this guy knows who he is, man. He makes no apologies for the things he's passionate about and shit. So I've always been drawn to motherfuckers like that. I'm pretty weak-willed and shit. So anybody could have gotten me off this fucking Walrus movie at any given time. Somebody could have just said, Kevin, sit down. Walrus movie, you know, go make Clerks 3, idiot, you know, and I would have done it and shit. But the biggest hurdle in my life, always, oddly enough, is my wife, Jennifer, who loves me like to death and would fucking cut the throat of anybody in this room who threatened me personally and stuff. Nobody in this world will love me more than Jennifer Schwalbach. That all being said, she's not what I would call a Kevin Smith fan. Never has been, not really into the movies or anything like that. I remember when I wrote Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I let her read it. I was like, what do you think? She's like, this is a movie for little boys. And she was like, can I be in it? And I was like, yeah, sure. She's kind of the person I have to get through in most cases, a hurdle sometimes, if you will. And I thought on Tusk, she would be that kind of hurdle. Case in point, we got a TV show called Comic Book Men that we do back in the States. I'm on the show, and it airs on the same night as two shows that we watch together, me and my wife, The Walking Dead and The Talking Dead, right afterwards, man. And then after that, Comic Book Men's on. So we sit there every fucking week, we'll watch when it's on Walking Dead, and then afterwards we watch The Talking Dead, and at the end of The Talking Dead, invariably, a fellow looks like me pops up on screen and says, hey man, stick around for more hijinks on Comic Book Men. And that's when she grabs the remote and goes, we're going to bed, and turns it off. Every fucking week, dude. She's only ever watched one episode, the fucking pilot. That was it. And she was like, I know what it is. I'm done. And that was that. So, you know, fucking it happens all the fucking time, dude. I asked her finally, like, the season finale, season 4, I wanted to live tweet the episode from our bedroom. Normally when I live tweet it, I'm in my office and watching it on a laptop and shit. But in my bedroom, and this is going to sound gross, but I got to tell you this in order to tell you the story. In my bedroom, I have a 103-inch television. It's fucking huge. Now, I would never buy this sort of thing. I looked it up online. It's $60,000. If you're gonna pay $60,000 for it, you better live in it, drive it, or it better blow you hard. So I wouldn't pay for this, but I got a phone call from a dude I know at Panasonic, Ed Janda, and I'd done a commercial with him once. And he goes, hey man, we're throwing out a 103-inch television. Do you want it? And I was like, fuck yes, give me all of your garbage, man. I said, what's wrong with it? He goes, nothing. They used it on the Olympics, and it doesn't have speakers. It's more for industrial use, you know, in the background of television shots. And it's going to require a sound system. I said, I'll put some fucking speakers on it. Yeah, I'll totally take that shit. So 10 people came to deliver this fucking big TV. It was crazy, and the base was heavier than the fucking TV, and they're like, where do you want it? And I was like, right across from my bed, please. And that's where it lives. So here's my bed, and then there's 3 feet of space, and then there's the TV. So I lay on my bed, like on my stomach, watch TV like this, and I don't watch TV, I'm fucking in TV. So, you know, I was like, can we watch season finale on the big TV? I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm always going to my office to fucking live tweet the episode. Like, it's season 4 finale. We know we just got a season 5. Let me celebrate, man. I want to watch my friends on the big TV. I want to see myself on the big TV. I want to stand next to me on the big TV. Look like fucking twins and shit. Like, and she goes, no, you go to your office to do that. And I was like, fucking woman. I said, this don't make any sense anymore, man. This is crazy. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, if you had a fucking TV show, I would watch it every week, man. I was like, but you don't watch the one TV show that, like, I'm on. And she was just like, this really bugs you and shit. I said, yeah, it fucking bugs me. And she goes, well, I'm not really in your demographic, am I? And I said, you fuck Kevin Smith! If you're not in the Kevin Smith demographic, who the fuck is? She goes, Jesus Christ, Kevin, stop crying. I said, it means something to me, man. And she goes, look, if I want to watch you talk about Batman and wear that jersey, I'll look to my left. So she's the person I generally have to get through in order to do anything, so I didn't really want to tell her about the Walrus movie. Because if she can't deal with comic book men, what the fuck would she say about the Walrus pictures? But I wrote about 15 pages and I brought it into her and stuff. And I gave it to her. I said, hey, I'm working on something. She goes, what is it? I said, this. And I gave it to her and she fucking read it. And she had this shocked look on her face. And I thought she was going to be like, you've lost it. But instead, she was just like, what is this? And I said, it's going to be Tusk. And she goes, what is it? What's going to happen? I go, nothing good. And she goes, what happens to this boy? I was like, he's going to get fucked up. And she's like, I want to read the rest of it. I was like, yeah? She's like, yeah, go finish it. And I was like, right on. So I went and fucking kept writing and shit. I finished it and I gave her the script. And she read it. And when she was done, she goes, I love this. And I was like, this is what you love? After everything else we've done together, fucking this stupid fucking Walrus movie? And she goes, oh, Kevin, it's amazing. She goes, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever read. She goes, but it holds together. It makes some sort of weird sense. I was like, right? It's fucking strange, right? I want to make it. She goes, how much do you think it's going to be? I was like, definitely less than $3 million. I'd say 2.5, 2.7 max. And she goes, where do you get the money? I was like, I fucking know. I don't know. Who the fuck would pay for this? And she goes, well, why don't we mortgage the house? Remortgage the house. And I was like, are you fucking serious? She's like, yeah. I was like, because we don't need fucking 2.7 million. In order to make a $2.7 million movie, all you need is $300,000 liquid cash. I was like, we finance the house, refinance it. We can get $300,000 for this house because I don't have fucking liquid cash sitting around. I'm real hand to mouth and shit. So I was like, we refinanced the house. We got $300K. We're in fucking production on the Walrus movie. And she's like, I would totally do that. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, I just want to see this. And that was her version of Skate. Because that's the person who never fucking says, let's risk it all on the fucking Walrus picture. And I said to her, man, I was just like, if you believe in this, I would love to do this. Because I ain't gambled on myself since fucking Clerks. And even then, I used fucking money from the credit card. So it wasn't technically my money. I owed it, but shit, that wasn't mine. I said, but now I get to bet on myself years later with my own fucking money, with what I put together from scratch. I would fucking love to do that. I would love to risk my future, your future, the kids' future. On this stupid fucking Walrus movie, that'd be amazing, man. So she's like, let's do it. And I was like, fuck. And we were off and running. Suddenly there was a movie. Suddenly, first there was no mountain, then there was a mountain, then there is. Suddenly there was a fucking script. Suddenly there was an idea of a movie. Suddenly we knew where the money was. And so we just pushed Whimsy there. It wasn't about like, this is a vision. It's going to happen by hook or by crook. I think she was just happy to see me fucking interested in movies again. I hadn't made a movie in 3 years. And the woman married a filmmaker. And I'm not going to say it's the height of sexy, but it's damn sexier than being married to a podcaster. When you're married to a fucking filmmaker, you travel, you go to movie sets, premieres and shit like that, film festivals and whatnot. When you're married to a podcaster, it's like, hey, Scott's here, we're going to go talk about fucking Harry Potter for 2 hours. And then fucking off you go. No glamour there whatsoever. So I think when I came to her with the script, it wouldn't have mattered what it was. She was just like, oh my God, he wants to make a movie again, do it, shit, but whatever. She says, skate. If anybody ever tells you to skate, skate, bitch. That happens so fucking rarely in life. So we had our fucking money, or at least where it was going to come from. I was filling out bank paperwork, and this woman, Shannon McIntosh, the producer on the movie, she had sent the script to this company called Demarest, and they do finishing funds for movies, man. They put in movies like, say you had a $60 million movie, you ran out of money and shit, as is often the case in that business. These cats come in and give you finishing funds. They're what they call last money in, first money out. It's kind of like being a loan shark who gets credit on a movie and stuff, and nobody gets their thumbs broken. So she talked to these cats because she didn't think we had any money for the movie and stuff. And I got a phone call from one of them, Sam Engelbart, man. He runs the company. And he goes, hey man, did you write Tusk? And I said, yeah, if you can call it writing, yeah, I put Tusk together. He goes, well, I said, why? And he goes, I would like to come talk to you about it. I said, really? He goes, yeah, can you have time tonight? I said, sure, man. I gave him my address, and he was coming over. I said, all right, hung up. Then I got fucking scared, dude. I got really fucking paranoid and shit, because I was like, I bet you this motherfucker has a competing Walrus movie. It's gonna be like that Armageddon Deep Impact race to the box office. He came over, he did not have a competing Walrus movie. He's pointing at my script, sitting in my house. He's like, "You serious about this shit?" I said, "Yeah, it's a heart attack, man." My wife told me we could refinance the house. I'm gonna pay for this bitch myself. I ain't done that since Clerks and whatnot. And he goes, "Oh, not so fast there." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, my company, I got a little slush fund in our office, $3 million, man. We use it for smaller things, last minute needs throughout the year. It's November, and we haven't used it yet. So it's just gonna roll over into the next year. Let me finance this movie. You said it's gonna be 2.7? Let me finance this movie." And I was like, "Why the fuck would you want to finance this movie? The fact that you would put money into this makes me suspect of being in business with you." Motherfucker had the best answer I ever heard in my life from a patron. Patron is somebody who gives me money for my art. Everybody in this room is a fucking patron and shit like that. Only difference between you and this guy is he had a couple $1 million and shit. This man says to me one of the most beautiful things a patron's ever said. He goes, "I just want to see if you can do it." I was like, "Really?" He goes, "This is one of the stupidest scripts I've ever read." I was like, "Thanks, man." He goes, "Even if we get everything fucking wrong, it's gonna be interesting." He goes, "Who are you thinking about for your cast?" I said, "Justin Long." He goes, "Well, I like him. He was in Jeepers Creepers. Who else?" I was like, "Let me see, Michael Parks. He was in Red State with me. I want to bring him back." He goes, "He's good. Who else?" I said, "I'm thinking about looking for Haley Joel Osment." He goes, "Oh, little boy from The Sixth Sense. That's good. What else, man?" I said, "Well," he goes, "what about your Guy Lapointe, man? You got a Quebec manhunter from Quebec. Guy Lapointe, who's gonna play Guy Lapointe, man?" I said, "That's the easy one, dude. I wrote it for this motherfucker." He goes, "Who is it?" I said, "Quentin Tarantino." He goes, "Yes, yeah, Quentin's my boy, man. We go back, ways back, man. Max for life, bitch. Like, we're homies and shit." So he lives up the hill. I'm just gonna fucking blow him up and be like, "Hey, man, fucking I wrote a part for you where you get to act with Michael Parks." Michael Parks, Quentin's favorite actor in the world. The only reason I know Michael Parks exists because Quentin stuck him into From Dusk Till Dawn, Robert's movie, and then put him in the Kill Bill movies as well. Quentin loves this fucking guy. One of the greatest memories I ever had of doing my job and shit in my career was going to Quentin Tarantino's house. He's got a movie theater, 35 millimeter movie theater in his house, man. Right next to his house, separate, adjacent. We went there to watch Red State, the movie I made with Michael Parks in it, and it was me, Quentin, and Michael Parks. And fucking Quentin the whole time, he's a very enthusiastic movie watcher, whole time is fucking soaking it up, man, just fucking loving it and screaming at Michael Parks about what a genius he is, man. Like, I'm telling you, if you ever want to feel good about something you've done in life, show it to a stoned Quentin Tarantino. Oh, you'll feel fantastic. The whole time he's like, "It's like you made it for me, man." And I kind of did and shit. And he was like looking at the Parks on the screen and then turning to Parks next to him going, "My God damn it, Parks, you're a fucking genius. You're a genius. Say it." And Parks was like, "I'm a genius." He's so sweet to watch, man. But even straight out, when the movie was done, Quentin's like, "Come into my house." And we went into his house, got a big TV and shit, all form of media players and whatnot, like not just fucking Blu-ray, but going way back to like VHS and data. He had a stack of VHS tapes right in front of the TV. I'd seen that in fucking a decade, dude. I felt like young Indiana Jones. I was like, this belongs in a museum. He pulled one of the VHS tapes and it said Michael Parks on it. Slaps it into the VCR, big old VCR and shit, hits play. And what we see is a Michael Parks mixtape that Quentin made back when Quentin was a kid, man. He would go through TV Guide back in the day, circle any time Michael Parks was going to be on TV in a movie, then set his VCR to record it, no matter what time it was. Then he would go tape to tape with another VCR, chop all the best scenes of acting onto that tape, and create his Michael Parks mixtape. And it was set for SLP, which is 6 fucking hours. And he fucking popped it in, and one of the first things you see is this clip from this movie Spikers or some volleyball movie or something like that. A bunch of bad high school kid actors who are like 28, 30 years old and whatnot, going like, "We've got to win the next big match," and shit like that. And into this, you know, pedestrian amateurish affair, all of a sudden steps Michael Parks playing their coach, and he drops the fucking soliloquy on him that would come right out of Bill Shakespeare. It was, the performance level was astounding. Quentin's a genius at finding gold within cheese. Only Quentin would go through spikers and be like, look at this magic. And he was right, it was magic and shit like that. So the notion of him acting with fucking Quentin and Parks together, Quentin getting to act with his fucking acting legend, that would be fucking cool. That'd be worth doing and shit like that. So I wrote it for Quentin, and Sam Engelbart was like, great, man, hit him up, tell him we got the money, let's do it. And we sent the script to Quentin, and Quentin said, fuck no. And it turns out we didn't get an answer right away, man. I just heard fuck no. I was like, oh shit, I misunderstood. I guess I thought we were better friends than we were. I don't know what to think. Turns out he thought we offered him the role of the walrus. We didn't. We'd offered him the Guy Lapointe role and shit. And since he didn't take it, we were fucking Lapointe-less. And I was sitting there like, just fucking, what do we do? Because Sam Engelbart, that was a big part of the equation for him, man. He was like, Quentin's going to be in this movie? We're home free. I said, why? And he goes, because we'll have a spare director, man. If you lose control, he's right there. And I was looking forward to that too. There's one more motherfucker to throw under the bus if shit don't work out. I could stand in the face of any critic and be like, well, Quentin was there the whole time and he didn't help once. So I was like, what the fuck do we do? And I remember how the whole thing started, pushing whimsy and shit like that. Not thinking about what do others want, or certainly not thinking about how do I make my audience bigger. It is very masturbatory. If you've seen Tusk, clearly I don't give a shit about the audience anymore and stuff. So that whole journey was about pushing whimsy, not about what makes sense or how will this make better sense as a movie or more commercial sense or how can I reach more people and shit. So I started thinking, all right, the whole thing's pushing whimsy. We got here. There's a movie about to happen based on a stupid fucking conversation I had 2 months ago because I pushed whimsy. So push a little more whimsy. What the fuck, man? Like, shoot the moon, motherfucker. You don't have Quentin playing fucking Guy Lapointe? Who's your second choice? If you could pick anyone in this world, who would you pick to play Guy Lapointe? I thought about it, and I was like, Johnny Depp. I said, why don't I get Johnny Depp, man? Johnny Depp would be amazing for this, even though it is a movie about a guy who turns another guy into a walrus. Good news is I've got Johnny Depp's phone number, man. I've known the cat for over 10 years. Our kids go to school together. He's a lovely human being. We see each other at every fucking school function or family party and stuff. Great dude, man. Gave me his number at one point because he's like, I'm taking the girls to Coachella. Here's my number. Text me with any questions. I said, just one question before you go. He's like, what is it? I said, can I go to Coachella as well? And they went without me. So, but he gave me the number and I always had it and I never fucking used it. There was no reason to text him because I see him often enough at the fucking kid events and shit like that. And it was never an industry friendship. It was never like, hey, you and I should work together one day. Like, no way. We might as well work in 2 different fucking industries, man. Like, he works on those movies and I work on these movies. But he's a nice guy to be around. Totally fucking sweet. No arrogance to him whatsoever. You know how awesome that is to be around a Zen master of something who is not arrogant about it and shit like that? Doesn't even think of himself as like one of the world's greatest actors and shit like that. Thinks of himself as a musician more than anything else. That's where it came from, world music, man. Him and his buddy Bruce Witkin had a band in Florida. Dude's from Kentucky. He'd go visit his grandma in Florida, met this kid, Bruce Witkin. He played music, he played music. They join up, create a band. They start gigging around Florida. They're making fucking loot. They become kings of the Florida music scene. And finally they get a bee in their bonnet. We're like, fuck it, let's go to Los Angeles. We're gonna be huge, man. They go to LA, cannot get booked to save their fucking lives and shit like that. They're there about a month, 2 months, money's running out. Bruce Witkin says to Johnny Depp, hey man, why don't you go to one of those auditions for like those movies we see posted all over town? Maybe you get a job and we can pay our apartment rent and then we can fucking stay a little longer, try to get our fucking music on its feet. And he was like, okay. And he went and he auditioned. He came back. He's like, holy shit, they gave it to me. And they're like, what's it called? He's like, Nightmare on Elm Street. And Johnny Depp begins his acting career and shit. Bruce tells another story where he's just like, we had a big gig that Johnny had to cancel out on at the last minute. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing to me? He's like, I can't help it. My agent's making me go to this audition at this brand new network called Fox. It's for some sort of fucking cop show. 21 Jump Street. And so thus begins like the long acting career of Johnny Depp, the long, varied, amazing acting career of Johnny Depp. And one day I was sitting there talking to him. I was like, you know, man, does it ever just like weird you out that like if they ever created a Mount Rushmore of acting, like in the States, we got the Mount Rushmore with the fucking presidential faces. If they ever made a Mount Rushmore of acting, your face would be fucking on it. And he's like, nah, most days I just think of myself as a failed musician. Do you know how easy it is to hang out with that person, man? Oh my God. God. So I said, all right, fuck it. Like, reach out to him. What's the worst thing you could say? No. If he's gonna say no, he's such a good actor, he'll find a way to do it where it won't hurt that bad. He'll find a reason to say no, real classy like and shit. So I was like, all right, fuck it, man. I texted him. And I said, hey man, it's Kevin Smith, Harley's dad. Because that's who I am in that world. And I said, I never thought I'd say this, but I have a part you'd be perfect for. And fucking, goddamn it, if 3 little dots didn't pop up, meaning he was writing. And I was fucking scared all of a sudden. So I was like, this isn't real time, you know? I thought maybe at best I'd hear from him a month later, but fucking, the dots are happening right now. Either somebody stole his phone or he's writing back. And fucking Fringy writes back, 1 word, really? Question mark and an exclamation point. And I said, yes. I said, I'm gonna send you this link. And it's to a blog that I wrote about this movie that I'm trying to make. Now, after the conversation on the podcast, I tried to psych myself up into making it a movie by writing about wanting to turn it into a movie. It's one thing to say it on the podcast, another thing to put it in print, put it out there and whatnot. So I believe in throwing your hat over the wall. You know, sometimes in life there's some shit you want to get done. Best way to do it is to throw your hat over the wall. And that comes from Ireland. Some kids used to go to school, Tipperary, whatever the fuck. And there's a long wall around the village from school to their homes. So walking home from school took like an hour or more. But if they went over that fucking tall wall, it took 5-10 minutes to get home. But the wall was huge and the kids were small. They couldn't really do it without proper motivation. So to motivate themselves, they'd take off their caps and whip them over the fucking wall. Because they knew if they didn't get their caps, they'd get stolen, they'd get home, they'd get beat by their Irish parents and shit like that. So they whipped the hat over the wall and then scurry and climb, whatever it took. If it took a couple attempts, they'd get themselves over the fucking wall. That was their motivation. So I believe in that. I do that all the time in my own life. We're going to make Mallrats 2 in January, right? Now, maybe you probably look back in my timeline 6 months ago. That was not the case. That did not exist. But one day I got up and I was like, we're going to make Mallrats 2. And even though nobody agreed, within a week or 2 weeks, people understood that that was happening and shit. You just have to actualize it sometimes. Nobody's going to come to you and be like, hey, you want to make Mallrats 2? No, the movie didn't work the first time. Nobody liked Mallrats 1. Why did they want to see 2? But if you want to do shit, if you want to see shit happen, you know the case. And sometimes you got to actualize that shit. So I wrote a blog about wanting to turn this stupid podcast about a stupid story about a fucking guy who turns another guy into a walrus into a fucking movie and stuff. Laid it all out in print so that I was responsible for those words and shit, and then I had to live up to it. So I sent him a link to that blog. I said, read this, and if this interests you at all, I'll send you a script, we'll talk more. He's okay. I sent him the link, and then 15 minutes went by, I didn't hear nothing. I figured he clicked on it, it was a walrus movie, and then drew the phone. But then all of a sudden, boop, 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 3 dots pop up, and he's writing, and I was like, holy fuck, he's writing back, and boy did he write back. Johnny Depp, aside from being one of the greatest actors in the world, is one of the most eloquent texters on the planet. You know, most people go for that emoji, hieroglyphic bullshit, LOL, whatever the fuck and whatnot. This guy, not at all, man. All words, all 50-cent vocabulary words. And I'll never forget the words put together in the response fucking text is sent back. It said this. Read the blog about the fucking movie, me trying to turn this walrus into a man into a walrus movie. He wrote, fascinating. This smells like something that I would care to swim around in. Color me intrigued. It's like getting a fucking text from Lord Byron, man. Just so beautiful and shit. Even his texts have scarves all over them. So I sent him the script. I said, I'm going to send you a script, man. He goes, yeah, let me read it. Shit, sent him the script. Didn't hear from him for like a month. Figured he got the script, got 2 pages in, and was like, oh shit, how am I going to act my way out of this bad situation? And I forgot about it. You know, it was just one of those things. I was like, I took my shot, and he seemed interested. At least he wasn't shitty about it. And like, you know, no harm, no foul and stuff. I'm still trying to figure out who the next choice for Gila Funk would be and stuff. So I was driving around with my brand new assistant at the time, Ashley, Megan had been my assistant, and Megan wanted to move back east. She's like, I know a girl who wants to replace me. I said, what's her name? She goes, Ashley. I said, what's she like? She goes, she's a 25-year-old lesbian. I said, hire her today. And she's like, why? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? My whole life I've been dreaming about fucking hanging out with a lesbian so I can be like, you like pussy? I like pussy too! Get some fucking tips and shit like that. I said, this would be amazing. So she hires Ashley, and Ashley's job, and when he worked for me, basically drive me around and roll my joints. It's that simple. Not at the same time, two separate activities and shit. So she drive me around day one, first time she's ever driven me. And she almost put us into the side of a city bus. And I was like, thank God I'm stoned. And so we're driving to the airport. And all of a sudden I get a text. And I look at my phone, and it's from Johnny Depp. And it just says, Kevin, with a question mark. And, my heart starts fucking beating, because he don't have to respond. The proper protocol in this situation, when you want to ignore a bad thing, is to never respond. If he's responding, man, that's somewhat fucking positive. And I'm a guy who loves acting. I can't act myself. I love being around actors. That's why I do what I do. It's not because I'm like, I gotta tell a story, or I got vision. I don't have any of those things. I just like being around actors, man, because that's the closest thing we have to wizardry and witchcraft. That shit don't exist. But you take a fucking actor or an actress, you put them on stage or in front of a camera, and you have them start that lie that tells the truth bullshit, because that's all acting is, telling the lie that tells the truth over and over. And we sit there and we buy the fact that they're not who they say they are. They're lying about their name, lying about their life in that moment, lying about their loves and relationship, lying when they kiss people that we watch them kiss, but we buy it. We buy it and we learn something about ourselves in the process by watching that shit. That's as close to a magic trick as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. Those are magic fucking words. Watching a performer, a thespian of any kind, tell the lie that tells the truth, that's how I want to spend my life, man. That's how I've learned the most about who I fucking am. So I love being around actors and actresses and shit like that. This guy is one of the greatest. If actors and actresses are wizards, this motherfucker is Gandalf, with a bit of Dumbledore growing out of his ass. So he's the best of the best, and the dude is writing me back at this moment. Even if the next thing is, I could never do this in a million years, at least he fucking read it and shit like that. At least there was a moment where it was all fucking possible. The next thing he writes is, I love Guy Lapointe. I can't wait to do this. My heart is pounding out of my fucking chest at this point, man. I think I'm gonna have a heart attack at age fucking 43. I was heavy enough to have it. Nobody from my world is around me. My wife's not there, just Scott, fucking Jason Mewes, for me to be like, oh my God, fucking Depp is thinking about Tusk and shit. It's just Ashley, my brand new fucking assistant and shit like that. But I had to ground myself in the fucking moment, lest my fucking heart pound out of my chest. So in a real emo way, I put my hand up and I said, Ashley, take my hand. And she driving the car, she's like, I'm gay, right? This ain't about that, take my hand. She takes my hand and she's like, what? And I was like, if I read this text correctly, I think Johnny Depp wants to be in Tusk. And she's like, that stupid fucking walrus movie? I said, Ashley, let go of my hand. So I fucking hit him back, man. I was like, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, call me. We get on the phone. He goes, dude, I love it. He goes, thank you for thinking of me. Nobody thinks about me like this anymore. And I was like, with good reason, man. He's going, but I love this sort of thing. He's going, I can't wait to do this. He's going, I got an internal dimmer, man. He said, I made a movie in Montreal before, so I've got a French-Canadian accent that I want to do. And I have an internal dimmer. I can make it as accurate, dial it up to as accurate as you like, or down to as stupid as you want. And I said, go stupid, dude. Go way stupid. He goes, when we shoot? And I said, 3 weeks in North Carolina. And he goes, oh, I can't do that. I was like, what? He goes, nah, we'll be making Alice in Wonderland 2. I can't do that. And I was like, this is where it all falls apart and shit like that. So I said, well, wait a second, man. Instead of letting it fall apart, let me push whimsy one more time and stuff. I said, how about we do this? What if I go to North Carolina, shoot all the movie without you? I'll leave all the Guy Lapointe scenes. And then we shoot those in Los Angeles when you're done and we're free. Just make it like that. Don't have to do it all in a row, man. If we have to wait a couple months, we wait a couple months. And I'll never forget his response. He was awesome. He goes, you would do that for me? Such a great actor. I said, dude, it's important in life to know which way the favor goes. So yeah, I would do that for you. He's like, Kevin, if you're serious, if you can move that shit around, I would do this in a heartbeat. I said, are you kidding me? I will fucking step on my mother's neck to make this work, man. He said, right on, I'm gonna blow you up when I get back from shooting the movie. I said, please do. And he hung up and that was it. I was fucking, I called up Jennifer. I was like, fucking Johnny might be in Tusk. He says he wants to be in Tusk. She's like, you're kidding. You bothered Johnny Depp. Why'd you bother Johnny Depp? I said, he didn't say it was a bother. He said he liked it. And she goes, you're kidding. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God. You better call Sam Engelbart. And I was like, you're fucking right, man. I gotta call Sam from fucking Demarest. Because Sam had been hounding me all week going, man, come on, we gotta fucking find somebody else. If it ain't gonna be Quentin Tarantino playing Guy Lapointe, who's your second choice to Quentin Tarantino? So I call him up, man. I was like, Sam, it's Kevin. He goes, Kevin, what up, man? Where's the list? Do you have your second choice to play Guy Lapointe? And I said, I do. He goes, who is it? If it's not Quentin, who's it gonna be? I said, Guy Lapointe will be played by Johnny Depp. And there's a long beat of silence. And Sam goes, Kevin, I know smoking weed has gotten us this far. Maybe it's time to put it down. It's bullshit, dude. This has nothing to do with weed, man. I know the guy. I mean, our kids have known each other for over a decade and shit. I sent him the script. He said he liked it. He goes, he fucking liked it? I said, yeah, go figure. He goes, great, we gotta send him a contract right now. I said, whoa, don't do that. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, don't send the man a contract. He goes, why? I was like, Sam, he's doing it for nothing. I asked the guy to do it. He's moving shit around and whatnot. We're trying to make it convenient for him and shit. If you fucking send him some paperwork and whatnot, he's not the one going to see the paperwork. His agent's going to see the paperwork, man. And Tracy Jacobs, she's a level-headed human being. The moment one of those get involved, this is fucked. So he's like, well, Kevin, the movie business is not run on wishes and hugs and shit. He's going, we need contracts. I said, well, tell you what, man, tell you what. I said, I guarantee he's going to be there. Man's a man of his word. He said he wants to do it. I'll listen to him. He's believable, man. So I guarantee he's going to be there. And I'll put the money up if he's not. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I was going to try to pay for the movie myself, so I'll cover those days in Los Angeles. What could it possibly be? Max $200,000? I was ready to put up $300 to make the whole movie. I said, I'll put that $200K up if he doesn't show up. We go to Los Angeles and he's not there and he fucks us, I'll pay for those days. That's on me. He goes, you want to put that money in escrow? I said, absolutely. We did that and we were off and fucking running. I went off and made Tusk. Did whatever we wanted to do. Didn't have any of the Guy Lapointe stuff. The crew was really confused. Like, when are we shooting that? I'm like, I don't know. But I think we're gonna. We wrapped the movie in North Carolina. I went home, went back to Los Angeles, cut the rest of the movie together, and then we just waited for a while. And we didn't even wait. We went about with life and shit. And one day I got a fucking text from him, and he was like, bonjour, it's Guy Lapointe. I texted him back immediately. I was like, thank God, dude. I was starting to think you were a figment of my stoner imagination. Because I'd heard from him in months and shit like that. He goes, no, I'm ready to swim with the walrus. I said, this is fantastic. When are you free? And he gave me dates. I said, done. We're booking these 2 dates. In 2 dates, we'll have you out of there. It'll be fucking quick and painless and shit. I said, can we do anything for you, man? You're doing it for like no money. How can we make this easier for you, better? What do you need and stuff? He goes, well, if you want to pay for my makeup artist, he goes, that would be amazing. I said, well, fucking, of course we'll pay for your makeup artist. Who is he? He goes, a guy named Joel Harlow. He's real great. He does me on all the Pirates movies and stuff. Dude lets me get lost in there. I said, done and fucking done, man. I can't believe you want to wear makeup and shit. He goes, yeah, Johnny Depp wants to wear makeup. Go figure. I said, right on. That's easy to do, man. He goes, okay, then I'll see you there and shit. So fucking hung up and made the arrangements and shit. And the day comes. First day that I'm going to work with fucking Johnny Depp. And I show up on set and I'm like a kid again, man. Like, this is awesome. This guy's way out of my fucking league. This is like fucking a supermodel, you know, in director world and shit like that. Particularly with a script as stupid as fucking Tusk. It's like fucking a supermodel with the world's smallest dick. Makes it even more special and shit like that. So I'm on set just like, hey everybody, we're back. This is amazing. And then one of the PAs comes over and is like, Mr. Depp wants to see you. And I was like, Johnny's dad came as well? And they're like, that's him. And I was like, oh fuck, where is he? And they're like, he's in his trailer. And I was like, all right. Because I was having this weird feeling then. Back on Cop Out, last time I worked with a major movie star on the level of Johnny Depp was Bruce Willis in Cop Out. And whenever somebody was like, Bruce wants to see you in his trailer, it was never for like cocoa and hugs. You know? It was always like, fucking, boy, you're bad at this, be better and fucking leave me alone. And I'm like, you called me here, but it's cool. So I'm going to Johnny's trailer being summoned by another movie star. I'm starting to have these flashbacks and shit like that. Knock on the door and stuff. He's like, come in. And I realized this ain't gonna be Bruce Willis Land at all, man. I step into the trailer, he turns around the chair, and he's got full fucking prosthetic makeup on his face, including a big fucking nose. If you've not seen Tusk, he wears a big fucking nose in the movie, man. Looks incredibly real and shit. I was like, holy fucking shit, man. He looks amazing. He goes, what do you think? He's going like this. I was like, I think it's fucking incredible. I think you're really overthinking this. I think you're treating it fucking very seriously. I was like, I mean, unless you're just trying to disguise yourself in a movie. I was going, but this is fantastic, man. Are you kidding me? Like, I didn't expect this much. It was like, you could have fucking phoned this in. Like, literally, we would have shot the phone and you could have called it. And everybody would have been impressed by that, you know? But look at you, fucking makeup and everything. He goes, no, look, what do you think? Doesn't it look like a dick? I looked at it and I was like, holy fuck, you're right. From this angle, it is kind of fucking dick-like, man. That's hysterical. He's like, you notice the cut right in the tip of the nose? I was like, oh, that does complete the illusion. He goes, not quite. He goes, would you mind though? And I said, would I mind what? And he goes, me and Joel were talking about painting a blue vein down the side. I said, are you telling me that you want to wear a dick on your face in my movie? Let me tell you something right now, Mr. Depp. If you ever want to wear a dick on your face in the movie, Tusk is the fucking movie to do it! He's real fucking sweet about it. He said, don't worry, I'm not going to rock it the whole time, man. Just every once in a while, you'll see it and stuff. And if you look at the movie, he delivers this monologue. First time you see him, we fade up, he's delivering a monologue right down the barrel of the camera and stuff, looking at it. So you just see the front of the nose, so it just looks bulbous and shit like that. But every once in a while, during the monologue, he'll do a flourish, you know, something, he'll say something dramatic and he'll go, oh, and then it's all cock. Really fucking astounding. So we go to shoot that, you know, he's done with his makeup. He goes, what are we shooting first? I said, this big monologue. The scene opens with that big page-and-a-half monologue that you deliver to camera. And he goes, oh, the one we record later? And I was like, why would we record it later? He said, because it says off camera. And I looked at the sides, the little script, and it said, Gila Point off camera for that speech. It was a misprint. So he thought he didn't have to memorize it. I was like, oh, fuck, no. I was like, that opens the scene, man. You deliver that monologue down the barrel of the camera before we do anything else. So I was like, you know, don't worry about it. We can memorize it later on, but we'll go shoot everything else. End of the day, we'll circle back. And he goes, no, man, give me the pages. Let me look. And he looks at him for what is essentially a minute and a half. And he's doing the thing that actors do. They look and they go. And he goes, okay, let's try it. And I was like, right on, he wants to give it a shot, everybody. All right, places, man, here we go. Roll pictures, roll speed, sound, camera, all that, and action. That first take is what's in the movie. He didn't look at it until that moment in time, but he fucking processed it like a goddamn Jedi ninja. It was fucking breathtaking to watch. The whole day was like that. It's like watching somebody amazing do their job. Because trust me, man, I'm not arrogant enough to think that I directed Johnny Depp. You don't direct Johnny Depp or anything like that. You know, the way you direct most actors and shit, stand behind a monitor, you watch the scene as it plays out, cameras capturing the image, you see it on the monitor. You say cut when it's done, then you go over and talk to the actors, go, that was great, man, this is what I like, this is what we want to change. I like this line, let's grab this line again, maybe do this different, maybe on this one, you'll be more surprised. You crush this moment, blah, blah, blah. You're like, right on, let's go again. You go back to the monitor, and you go action, they do it again. When you direct Depp, man, you'll watch a take behind the monitor and shit, you're like, all right, cut. And you walk over, and you're just like, fucking thank you. And you turn around, go back to your chair, because fuck, he's got it, man. So we shot the whole day, and it was just fucking amazing. At the end of the day, he was like, oh my God, I'm finished? I said, yeah, for today, you come back tomorrow, have more fun. He goes, oh, I had such a blast. He's going, how much did we shoot? I said, we did 14 pages, 2 scenes. He goes, 2 fucking scenes? He's going, oh. you know how long it takes to shoot a scene on the Pirates movies and shit like that? I said, I don't know how long. He goes, do you ever see the one where I'm running on the wheel in the jungle and stuff? I said, yeah. He goes, 4 months for that scene. I was like, okay, but the big difference is, you know how much money that movie made? This walrus picture ain't gonna do that. And he goes, oh, I know. Right on, man. Come back tomorrow, we'll have more fun. He's like, I will, man. He took off and shit like that. And I watched him go, get in the car and go, and I was elated. I was beside myself. Because again, last time I worked with a major motion picture movie star and shit, wasn't like that at all, man. Wasn't playful or fun like this guy, or hey, we can do. Deb's got a why not attitude, man. That's what you need to get shit done in this life, man. You tell people you want to step outside your box, do something a little bit different, something maybe you're not known to do. Maybe you want to venture towards something, man, something calling to you, and you're like, I want to imitate that until I can innovate and do my own fucking thing. The moment you tell somebody, hey, man, I want to step outside my box, first thing you will be hit with is the big fat dick in the face of why. Everyone will hit you with why. Why? Why do you want to do that? Why do you think you can do that? Why not me? Why aren't I thinking about that? Why are you acting this way right now? Why do you think you're all that and shit like that? It's a world of why, man. It's a crap pot out there. People don't like to see people reach for the top. They like to yank them right the fuck back down with the rest of us and stuff like that. In order to go further in life, in order to see your dreams come true and whatnot, you just gotta surround yourself with why not people. Motherfuckers who are like, you know, I want to try this thing, man. You want to help? They're like, why not? I got nothing to do. Why not? That sounds fucking fun and shit like that. You can't stop them from fucking helping. Death was totally why not. Bruce Willis on Cop Out was the ultimate why. Case in point, man, we're shooting a scene where he has to get out of the car. Tracy Morgan getting fired at by a machine gun off camera and shit. Bruce is his partner. He's got to jump out of the car with his fucking gun, go save his partner who's getting fired upon and shit. So we go to shoot that tape, and we got a single on Bruce in the car. I'm like, ready, boss? He's like, whatever. I said, all right, good enthusiasm. Here we go. And action, you know. You hear the machine gun off camera and shit. You see people running in the background of Bruce's shot. And Bruce gets out of the car about as calm as you would get out of the car as if you were going to McDonald's. You'd probably speed a little more if you were going to McDonald's. Closes the door, pulls the gun out of his pocket, checks it, and saunters across the street like this. Least dramatic thing you've ever seen in your life in a moment where shit's going on. Now, acting is a job of choices, and I've never judged any actor for making the choice they do, but I saw that one, and I was like, that doesn't really fit in the pace of the movie, the scene, the intensity right now, so we're gonna have to probably go another take, which is a kind way of saying, Jesus fucking Christ, let's go again. So I go over to him and I was like, hey boss, that was great, man, it was awesome. We're gonna go one more just for safety and stuff like that. And he goes, you wanna go again? Ugh. And I said, oh yeah, just one more time. He goes, fine. And he leans against the car. So I go back to the monitor and shit like that. He's a man of few words. Stand behind the monitor with everybody else. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes. We're waiting to move on and shit like that so we can shoot the tape. But he's not getting in the car. It's real strange and shit. Michael Pitt, the AD, the assistant director, comes over and he's just like, why isn't he getting in the car? I was like, I'm fucking damned if I know. He's like, did you tell him we're going again? I said, I did. He seemed to understand it pretty clearly. He was unhappy about it. He was unhappy about everything, so I understand. I think he understood what we were talking about. So why don't you go over there and ask him why he's not getting in the car? And Michael's like, I'm fucking going over there and telling him. Why don't you go ask him? I was like, you're the fucking AD. He's like, you're the D. I was like, fuck. So went over. I was like, hey boss, how are you? He's like, we're gonna shoot this shit or what? I was like, yeah, totally. We're gonna do one more take. You know, we just need you to get back in the car so we can go again. He goes, wait a minute. You want me to get out of the car again too? And he opened the door as if it was made of 1,000 pounds and lowered himself into the car as if it was asking him to sacrifice himself, you know, the only begotten Son of God for all of us and shit like that. Closed the door and fucking I said, okay, let's go, here we go, one more, make it magic, movies, this is fun. I'm behind the monitor, and action. Door opens very calmly, door closes calmly, gun pulls out very easy, just saunters across the street off camera, the mirror of the first fucking take. At which point I realized I'm never gonna get the shot, so I was like, that's cool, we'll be good, man, don't worry. Moving on, I got what I need, thanks boss. Going on, up next, going on the next thing. Just fucking let the dream die and fucking move on, because that was his mood of the day. That's the why guy. That's who he is when you make a movie and shit. Johnny Depp's the guy that's like, hey everybody, let's put dicks on our faces. That's the guy you want to be with, man, and shit like that. So I was watching him leave and get in his car and go, and I said, God damn it. It only took 8 hours of working with that man to make up for all of the experience of Cop Out, man. This guy fucking rocks. So I went home and I was fucking telling Jen, I was like, this is amazing, man. He's fucking better than you thought, man. Like, as much as I always thought he'd be fun to work with, holy the fuck, he put a fucking dick on his face. And she was going, oh, you're gonna ruin that man's career. She said, it's Ben Affleck all over. Now my kid, not quite as critical as my wife. My kid is fucking beside myself that I'm working with Depp because she knows Depp for years now through Depp's kid, Lily Rose. That's how she knows Johnny. But she knows a different Depp than I know and stuff. I mean, she knows he's an actor and shit. But to her, Johnny is not like, hey, it's fucking, master thespian Johnny Depp. To her, Johnny Depp is the guy who makes amazing pancakes because she, spent weekends at that house all growing up. And Saturdays and Sundays, Johnny's a pancake maker and shit like that. So for years, I've always had to hear from my kid, like, Johnny makes pancakes way better than you. I'm like, Johnny does everything better. Shut the fuck up. So she was like, how was it? I was like, it was awesome. She was like, did he make pancakes? I said, no, bitch, he acted. Fuck. Now, Harley was going to be in the movie the next day, and she played a convenience store clerk in the flick. I thought that was very clever, because I was like, look, we all know the kid's never going to get a real job. Let's put her in the movie as if she had a real job and see what that would look like and shit like that. So I wrote her into the picture and shit. And I said, you ready to shoot with him tomorrow? Because she was going to be in the scene with Johnny. Dude, she's known her whole fucking life. And she's like, yeah. She's going, Lily Rose is coming. She's going to watch too. And I was like, Lily Rose is coming to watch? She goes, yeah, it's me acting with her dad. She wants to see it. And I was like, well, that's weird. She goes, why? And I said, well, it's fun to watch people act. It's way more fun to act yourself. Ask her if she wants to be in it. Then she can be behind the counter with you guys can work at the fucking convenience store together and shit. And she was like, yeah, but her parents don't really put her in the movies like you put me in the movies and stuff. We always put Harley in the movies while she was growing up and stuff like that. So you can have little snapshots of her at every age. But they didn't really do that with their kids. They kept their kids out of private. They kept them out of public. So I said, well, ask Lily Rose if she wants to do it. We'll start there. If she wants to do it, I'll talk to Johnny and Vanessa, see if it's possible. She talked to Lily Rose. She was like, I would love to do that. So I reached out to Vanessa, her mother first, and I was like, hey, Lily Rose is coming to set, man. Can we stick her in the movie with Harley, like right next to her and shit? And she was like, oh my God, yeah, if Johnny's into it, absolutely. So I emailed Johnny and I was like, hey man, have a great day. How about tomorrow, Lily Rose come to set and stick her in the scene so you guys can all act together and stuff. So the next morning I go in, I hadn't heard from him or anything like that. Second day we're shooting with him and I brought my laptop because what I do is I shoot and then I cut whatever we shot that night or that day. That night I'll cut it all together and then I bring it in and show the crew and the cast the next day, man. Because generally speaking, it's only theoretical that we're making a movie until they actually see a scene cut together. And most cats don't see that until cast and crew screening. I find it's useful to show people what we're doing because it's like, look what you did, look how awesome this is. Also gives people a chance to self-correct. Motherfucker could look at their work and be like, that looks good, but I bet you I could change that a little bit more. It gives people a chance to tweak. But more importantly, it's the fun of the job. Like, we're all doing this make pretend shit for this end result and shit. So you bring the cut scene, show everybody, starts the day off really fun. You get better work out of everybody. So I brought him his scene. I wanted to fucking show him the scene we'd done together the day before. I was like, knocked on the trailer door. He's like, come in. I get up. He's got the dick on his face and shit. I said, check this out, man. I open the laptop, press play, the scene starts, fades up on him. He's doing the monologue, and he goes, whoa, turn it off, turn it off. I turn it off. I said, what's the matter? He goes, I can't do that. Don't watch me. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I don't like to watch me act, man. He's like, it makes me cringe and shit. I was like, oh, you're like Matt Damon shit. Matt's like that. He don't like to watch himself. He's real self-critical and shit. And Johnny goes, what's Ben like? And I was like, Ben's the other guy. I said, he loves watching himself. Like, one of the reasons I love Affleck so much is like before I said, I love people who know who the fuck they are. From the moment I met Ben Affleck, man, he has always known exactly who the fuck he is, and that is the world's biggest Ben Affleck fan. And that's charming, man. Like, you think that's gross, but I find that amazing. He was the first person I ever met who felt that way about himself. I was like, I wish I felt this way about myself, that he feels about himself. He's his own biggest fucking fan and shit. We made Chasing Amy we're doing this scene where they're on the swing set, him and Joey Adams, and she's talking about fisting. She makes a vagina with her fingers and sticks her hand through it and goes like this. And he freaks out at the notion of fisting, and he's like, Jesus, doesn't that hurt? And she goes, yeah, but we only do it once in a while. It's reserved for special occasions. And that was the line, and then they talked about something else and shit. So we did it, about 3 takes, and I was like, I got everything I need, moving on. And Ben goes, whoa, can we do one more take? I said, yeah, really? And he goes, yeah, I gotta try something. I said, okay. And so, action, we do the same thing, and she makes the vagina with her fingers, puts her fist through it, goes like that, and he fucking reacts, and he's like, Jesus, doesn't that hurt? And she goes, yeah, we only do it once in a while, it's reserved for special occasions. And Ben goes, what do you do for not so special occasions, man? Just hit her in the head with a fucking bat? And I was behind the monitor going, I didn't write that. What the fuck? Cut, man. I go over and I was like, dude, what the fuck? He goes, you like that shit? I was like, no, not at all. He goes, oh, you're crazy. Leave that in, man. My peeps are gonna love that. And this was 1996. He had no peeps yet. He had 2 peeps, him and me. So I said, dude, speaking as your one and only peep, no. He goes, what are you talking about? It's hysterical. Stick him in a fucking fist of her pussy. I say I hit her head with a bat. That's funny. That's comedy and shit. I was like, dude, it's not comedy. I said, do me a favor. We're trying to tell a fucking love story. He's like, oh, with fisting. I was like, shut the fuck up. Listen. I know you like making up lines. I know you think you're clever and shit like that. Clearly you want to write and whatnot. So do me a favor. Save up all your fucking jokes, all things you want to write. Save them. Don't put them in my movie. Stick them in your own fucking script one day, okay? And he did that and won a fucking Academy Award. We're making Dogma, man. One of my favorite memories of that guy. He's a big director now and shit like that. I never seen him. I haven't seen him in 2 years. I haven't spoken to him in about 2 years and whatnot. But my formative years were spent with him. I was a big part of Ben Affleck version 1. Version 2, I don't have as much to do with. I see it from the outside and stuff like that. But version 1, Ben Affleck, man, I love dearly. It took a lot of my personality from early Ben Affleck as well, because I like the cut of his jib and shit. But more importantly, there are things that I'll take with me to the grave. Now I think of him as the guy who sold me his house, which became my house, and that's where I raised my daughter. Like, my family's been happy in that house for 13 years. He lived in it for 6 months, and yet we still call it Ben's house, even though I bought it many years ago. So that's what I think of when I think of Ben. But when I reach further back, this is the shit I think of, made me love him in the first place and shit like that. We're making Dogma. And, we were projecting the dailies on the wall at the end of the night. The dailies or whatever you shot the day before. It wasn't digital yet, so it was on 35mm film. No sync sound, so you're watching picture with no sound, no dialogue. You can't hear anything. It's just like a silent movie. But you're looking at it for the picture. Make sure everything's in focus and shit like that. Make sure everything's crisp. Make sure there's no hairs in the gate. So you invite everybody. Most cats just invite like key cast and crew member, key crew, not even cast. But I always invite everybody because I'm like, fuck it, they all made it, let them watch it. Shit. Most people aren't interested in watching a movie with no sound in it. So mostly the crew, the key crew members like the DP and his camera team, they would be there, I'd be there, the producer would be there. But the only other person who was there for every screening of footage that he was in was Affleck. And Affleck would sit in the front fucking row, laying down on the floor as if he was watching his favorite television program with a big bowl of popcorn on his lap, man. Cutest thing I ever fucking seen. When my brain synapses fire their last, this memory will go through my head. We're watching the sequence and shit. The sequence with him. It's him coming down in front of the church and whatnot. And then he lands, he's like, we were awaiting your arrival. So you can't even hear it. It's just the visual of him doing it and saying it. And after he fucking says it, it's a good looking shot, but you can't hear anything. But after he fucking says it in the footage, this is what I hear in the room. Now the only thing you hear in the room is the 35mm projector. Every once in a while, Bob Yeoman, the DP, will whisper something to his assistant about a note or something like that. Or I'll call out to Bob, like, Bob, that shot looks good. But other than that, it's quiet as a fucking library, as a church in there. So we watch the footage where Ben goes, we were waiting your arrival. You can't hear him, he just seems open. And he just has that face on. And this is the only other noise you heard in the room. The man was audibly enjoying his own performance. It was fucking adorable. First time I heard it, I thought he farted or something like that. But then I noticed he did it again, like all the time. And finally I was just like, dude, are you fucking audibly enjoying your own performance? And he's fucking looking at the screen. He looks back and he goes, come the fuck on. So Johnny's like, I'm not that guy. I don't like to look at the stuff. And I was like, yeah, don't worry, man. You don't have to watch it. I said, let me tell you, I cut it together. You are a genius in this scene. He goes, well, I am Johnny Depp. So I was like, right on, man. So I said, you ready to go shoot today? He goes, yeah, I got your email, though. You talk about Lily Rose being in the movie? I was like, oh, yeah. I wrote that, like, when I was fucking stoned, man. Like, don't worry about it. I know you guys don't put her in the movie and stuff. And he goes, no, dude, I was thinking about it all night. And he goes, I never imagined that I would ever act with my kid. He's like, I think it'd be a real missed opportunity if we don't do it. So can we still do it? And I was like, oh my God, we can do anything we want. Fuck yeah, we can do it. So we did the most responsible thing two parents would do. We went and plucked his kid out of school. Brought her to a movie set, man. Threw her in a room with Harley. They rehearsed for a little bit and shit. And then we went out and shot the scene in the convenience store. And I'll tell you, I've been making movies at that point for 20 years, right? 20 years, best job in the world as far as I'm concerned, at least for people that like movies. I fucking love doing it. But as much fun as I've had doing it all this time, the greatest day of my life, making a movie, was the day that I was on a set directing my kid, and the world's greatest actor was also there, directing his kid. It was a scene all of them were going to play, and it was beautiful. They were standing there behind the counter. There's my daughter, and there's Lily Rose and shit. They've known each other for fucking over a decade. And on the other side of the counter, there's me, and there's fucking Johnny. And I'm directing my kid, and he's directing his kid. And then my kid stops listening to me and starts listening to the good actor. And then we were off and running. We went and shot the scene, and it was fucking bliss. The girls had never done anything before, had never acted. They were incredibly fucking natural. They came off really well and stuff. I was standing next to Jen the whole time, my wife, behind the monitor, just going side to side. I was so fucking excited and shit. And I kept elbowing her, going, that actress came out of my balls. We finished shooting, that was the end of the movie. When we finished with the girls and with Depp, that scene, that was the end and stuff. And so it was a real celebratory atmosphere on set. Everyone was happy. The girls were, kind of lauded. Everyone was like, oh my God, they were great. Especially Lily Rose came in at the last second and shit. They crushed it. They were really good. So I was at the back of the set, just fucking moment of bliss and shit like that. And Depp comes over, he's like, oh my God. He's going, did you see how natural those girls were? I was like, yeah. He goes, if we had any intelligence, you and I would retire and live off of these girls. I said, well, one of us can retire because one of us owns an island. I said, I'm going to be here at the convenience store just a little bit longer. He goes, I got to tell you, Kevin, I had the greatest time doing this. I said, dude, I had the greatest time. I was like, you don't know what you did for me doing this. This was like fun. You put fun back into it and shit like that. I mean, Christ, you put a dick on your face for me, man. Nobody, Jason Mewes never even did that for me, man. So he's like, I love this character. He's going, I would play this character again in a heartbeat, man. I was like, no, you won't. The only time you ever doubled up is Captain Jack, and now the Mad Hatter. Because generally he doesn't sequelize himself. And he goes, I don't care, I would play this part again, dude. I love Guy Lapointe. I have been irritating everybody in my life with this voice. Because I won't stop doing it. So, like, you want me to play this guy, man? I'll always play him for you. I said, thank you so much. And he took off, and it was fucking wonderful, right? So I went home and finished cutting the rest of the movie with all the scenes we shot with him, including the new scene with the girls in it and shit. And I fell in love with the scene with the girls. And you'd imagine I'd be like fucking fixated on the Johnny Depp scenes because I'm like, holy fuck, we got Johnny Depp. But it was the girls scene that I fucking loved, watched over and over again, would show everybody. I was like, this is what I'm going for. And I showed Jen over and over to the point where she even grew sick of watching her daughter. Where she was just like, I get it, Kevin, she's good. And I was like, why do I love this scene so much? I'm obsessed with the fucking scene with the girls and the fucking A to Z. Like, is it because she came out of my balls? Or is it because they wear those smocks? And they kind of look like hockey jerseys, and I like hockey jerseys. Or is it because, like, they fucking look at their phones, look up, say shitty things, look back at their phones, and that's all they do in real life anyway? Like, why do I love it so much? And Jennifer was like, Kevin, you just don't fucking see it, do you? You're so fucking stupid. It's two people standing behind a fucking convenience store counter. I was like, oh God, you're right, it's Girl Clerks, isn't it? I was like, I'll tell you what though, man, I bet you I could make that movie. And she goes, who did make that movie, man? said, no, not that one. I bet you I can make a movie with these 2 girls. We made the whole movie around these 2 girls working in the convenience store. Look at their lives 1 year after the events in fucking Tusk and shit. And Johnny said he would love to play Guy Lapointe so he could fucking come back. And she's like, well, if you're gonna do it, you just reach out to him and ask him. So I reached out to Vanessa first. She came over and I showed her all the footage that we shot with the girls and showed her the cut scenes. She was like, oh my Lord, she's going, they're so natural. I was like, right? She's like, they've never acted before. I was like, I know, it's crazy. I said, I've been thinking lately, I want to write a script for the 2 girls, man, a whole movie based around them. And Vanessa's like, oh, Kevin, you'll never do that. And I said, I already did, here it is. They gave her the script, she took it home, she read it, she called me, she was like, I love it. She's going, this is so adorable. She's like, I can't believe it. Like, I would never say yes to this in a million years, but like, why not? She's going, like, she's going to be making a movie with you, she'll be safe and protected, she's known you her whole life and stuff, Johnny will be there. Like, I can't say no. She's like, yeah, do it and stuff. She goes, ask Johnny. And I knew that'd be easy and stuff. So I texted him and I was like, hey man, it's Kevin, are you around? And my phone rang. Fucking said JD and shit, and I answered it. And it wasn't JD, it was Guy Lapointe. He did the whole monologue. From Tusk, like letter perfect. And he hadn't done it in months, but I see it all the time because I'm the editor and shit. Letter perfect. I had a big fucking hard on because he knew all my words still and shit. And when he finished, I was like, oh my God, dude, I love you for still remembering. And he goes, dude, I have been irritating the fuck out of everyone I know with this voice, man. Nobody wants to talk to me anymore because I won't stop doing the stupid voice. He's going, but you still love it, so I'm happy to talk to you. And I was like, well, this is going to be an easy phone call then, man. I said, I think I might have for, cure for what ails you. He goes, what is it? I said, I've been thinking about making a movie about the girls, Harley and Lily in the convenience store, the 2 characters that they play, and following them on an adventure like 1 year later, kind of like a spinoff, not a sequel or something like that. And I said, and Guy Lapointe would return. And he goes, I'm in. And I go, well, hold on, you don't know what the rest of it's about, man. He's like, I already said yes to Tusk, how bad could it be? And I said, well, this one's fucking out there, man. Like, Tusk was actually fairly serious compared to what this is. And he was like, well, what is it? I said, it's kind of like Clueless meets Gremlins. Like, that's what the movie is. The girls fight monsters. And he's like, what kind of monsters? And I was like, well, they're monsters that come out of the earth from under the convenience store, and they've been hidden there for 100 years. I said, they are 1 foot tall Canadian Nazis made of bratwurst. We call them Bratzies. And every time the girls kill one of them, because there's hundreds of them, concentrated sauerkraut comes flying out and stuff. And he goes, God damn it, I already said yes, don't gild the lily. I said, really, you're in? He's like, I'm totally in, I would love to do that. So boom, we were off and running, man. 6 months it took me to go from that podcast on Tusk to a movie. That's the fastest I've ever done it in my life. Usually it takes a lot fucking longer and stuff. 6 months from the moment I said, Walrus, yes, to the moment I was sitting on a set, going action, and Justin Long was like, but fucking Yoga Hosers went faster. And once again, 2 things that I never once was sitting there going, what does the audience want? How do I get a large audience for that? Now, granted, I had the benefit of fucking help on my side. There was an 800-pound gorilla behind me, man. Like, you know how difficult it would be normally to walk into a place and fucking ask for what I asked for to make a movie with 2 actresses who have never acted before and shit like that? But on fucking Yoga Hosers, it was crazy simple. Because I just went in and I was like, hey, how would you like to finance a movie starring 2 little girls who've never acted before and they fight monsters in Canada? Oh, by the way, Johnny Depp's here too. And they were like, fuck you, take the money! And we kept it cheap, man. You don't be irresponsible. It was a low-budget flick. It was under $5 million and shit like that. And I reached out to Mr. Muse, to Jay himself. I was like, Jay, I have the perfect part for you to play. And he's like, what is it? I said, you're going to play the Bratzies in the movie. Back then, they weren't called Bratzies. In the original draft, they were called Hitwins. And they were 1 foot tall Hitler clones. They just looked like Hitler. That was it. Nothing special or unique about it. They didn't look like sausages. And Jason was going to play it. I reached out to him. I said, dude, I got the part for you. You could play all the Hitlers. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. He goes, why? I said, because right now, all anyone ever says is, hey, you're Jay from Clerks. But I guarantee you, if you play this role, they'll be like, that's that fucking Hitler dude. And he's like, like, all right, I'll do it and shit. And then it led to some of the weirdest conversations I ever had in my life with Jason Mewes. Every once in a while would be like, so I've been watching Hitler videos on YouTube. Which is something you never want to hear a friend say. And I said, yeah? And he goes, I think I got it down, man, because he talks funny. I was like, funny how? He goes, like, he's always mad. And I was like, yeah, that's his performance, man. Let me see. And he's like, here's my best Hitler. And Jason goes, schleiben, Stukens. I said, that'll work. That'll totally work, man. And so Bob Kurtzman, the guy that created fucking Tusk, he did the rubber outfit for Tusk, I reached out to him at a certain point because we got close to production. I didn't like the idea of Jason just dressed like and looking like Hitler. Felt like kind of it should be a little more. The original thing was like, I loved Inglourious Basterds and they killed Hitler at the end. And I was like, what a great idea. Nobody's ever done that in a movie and shit. I was like, imagine if you did it 1,000 times with little versions and shit. Stick them in a microwave, watch them blow up. So I was like, that's what we'll do. But then as we got close to production, I was like, maybe it's a little tasteless to just do little Hitler. Maybe it should be something. In a world where we're doing rubber Canadian monsters, maybe it should be rubber. So I reached out to Kurtzman. I was like, Kurtzman, man, I'm thinking about doing something with Jay, as opposed to just letting him look like Jay with a little Hitler mustache. And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, well, what do we think of when we think of Germany? And he's just like, I don't know. And I said, I think of the Black Forest, trees. Maybe we can make his skin like tree bark or something. And Kurtzman goes, well, I think of fucking Germany, I think of bratwurst. And I was like, you, my friend, are a fucking genius. Yes, we'll turn him into a bratwurst. He's like, you want him to look like a dick? I was like, he already does, man. Yeah. So Kurtzman designed a suit. He scanned Jay into it and shit, and designed the suit, and I saw it, life size, looked like a giant fucking hot dog with arms and legs and shit like that. But it looked weird. It was oddly familiar. I was staring at it, and I was like, Kurtzman, this, I don't know how to say this, but this fucking suit, like, this looks like me when I'm naked. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, it's got droopy man boobs, and it's got this, like, you know, fucking front porch gut hanging over his little dick and shit like that. It kind of looks like me. And Kurtzman goes, good, it worked. I was like, what the fuck's that mean? He goes, well, every artist takes a new path, you know, into a particular job and shit. He's like, so this one, I tried to find my way into it, and I realized since Jay's playing the part, we're turning him into something, I figured my way into the job with my artistic challenge was to turn Jay into Silent Bob. I was like, fucking thanks, dude. And so, Jason goes to put the shit on, man. We shot the whole movie, you know, without him. We did the last 2 days. We were going to shoot him in front of a green screen. They went and sat him in a chair at 5:30 in the morning, put the prosthetics on. The problem was, Jason gets very tight about prosthetics, close spaces. We knew this 10 years ago. We put him in rubber to try to make a life cast of his face to put these dummies in the Bluntmobile at the comic book store. The Blunt Man and Chronic dummy. I sat down, they stick straws up your nose so you can breathe, they pour this rubber goop all over your head, it hardens, then they pull it off and shit. So Jason sat down, I thought he'd be happy because they stuck straws up his nose, and then they poured the rubber all over his head, and about half a minute into it, he just starts clawing it off his face. And they're like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? He's like, I don't like it, I can't stand it, I don't like the feel, I don't like it on my ears, and it feels claustrophobic, I don't like it, and shit like that. Jason, when he was a kid, his mom, something of a junkie, she would take him to like shooting galleries and stuff, and leave him with strangers. One night, him and his sister got locked in the closet for 12 hours as little kids. Nobody let them out, they banged and shit like that, everyone off doing fucking dope and stuff. Jason only fell asleep because he heard the repetitive noise of a fan, air conditioning fan nearby. Still to this day, whenever we go into a hotel, we just checked into a hotel yesterday, the first thing Jason does is up to the front desk and says, do you have a box fan? Because he can't sleep without like white noise, without a fan blowing right next to his head because of that shit. So he's got claustrophobia issues, and we knew about it with the makeup. So I asked him before we went into the yoga hosers makeup, I said, dude, last time you reacted poorly to the makeup. He goes, nah, it was 10 years ago, I'm over that shit. So 5:30 in the morning, they put him in the chair, start putting shit on him. I get a phone call at 6 in the morning. They're like, Jason just pulled all his makeup off his face. And I was like, fuck. And I ran down to set. I was like, what's up, man? He looked like a caged fucking animal. Just like fucking wide-eyed, stalking the room and shit, scared. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know, I just can't fucking do it. Like, they tried to glue it on my face, and I got real nervous and shit, and panicked. And I was like, well, just walk it off. Walk around, fucking feel better and shit. Have a cigarette. He's like, yeah, I'll do that. He went and had a cigarette. It was so weird, because he's wearing this giant sausage head appliance that looks like a big sausage helmet, and he's walking around smoking and stuff, like a smoking hot dog and shit. So he's like, I'm ready. I think I'm ready to go. I said, right on. He comes in, he sits down in the chair, he goes, let's do it. Kurtzman goes, all right, here we go. He starts gluing the appliance to his face, and instantly Jason takes it off his face, just claws it off. And he starts getting upset, real emotional. His eyes are getting glassy. He's like, why can't I do this shit? And you know why he can't do it. He's got a block. And I'm telling him, dude, don't worry about this, man. Like, we tried, but we can't do it. He goes, no, I want to do it, but I just can't. And I was like, don't worry. You're dealing with some shit that goes back to childhood. I said, I can't make you do this. Look at you. We're not going to get a performance out of you anyway. And you look scared as fuck. I was like, don't worry. Somebody else will do this. And he's like, who? I was like, I don't know. We'll find somebody else. But don't have to be you, man. Like, lay this fucking burden down. He's like, but everyone's waiting and it's costing money. I was like, I don't care. We'll pay the money back. Like, you're fucked up. You can't do this. Like, look how scared you are. Don't worry. He's like, you sure? I said, yeah. And it looked like somebody lifted 1,000 pounds off his fucking back and took a gun out of his face. He was so fucking relieved. He's like, all right, well, who's going to play the Bratzies if it's not me? I said, let me reach out to fucking Haley. Haley Joel Osment's in the movie as well. So his character is tied to the Bratzies. So I was like, it makes sense if he played the Bratzies and shit. So I called him and shit. I was like, Haley, man, do you want to play the Bratzies and Yoga Hosers? And he was like, fucking, I thought Jason Mewes was playing the Bratzies. I was like, he can't do it, man. He's got an issue with the makeup. And Haley's like, I'll do that. I'll fucking do it in a heartbeat. I was like, really? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, fucking, yeah. I said, why? He goes, because if I play the fucking Bratzies, people will stop going, there goes little boy from the Sixth Sense. I said, you got a point there, my friend. You got a point there and shit like that. So, I said, you sure you don't want to ask your agent? And he goes, no, it's good. His agent called me a half hour later. He's like, he's not doing that. We had him in the movie already playing this Canadian Nazi Adrian Arcand. This real historical figure. And we shot a scene, flashback, black and white. He's dressed like a Nazi. He's got an armband around. He's standing in front of a big wall full of Nazi propaganda. He's doing this shit and whatnot. Makes sense in the context of the movie. But we had a bunch of paparazzi who were shooting our shoot we didn't know about. So the next day, all these pictures went up online of Haley Joel Osment with a swastika on going like this. And every headline was like, what happened to the little boy from the Sixth Sense? So I said, fuck it, I'll do it myself. I'll wind up playing the fucking role. I know what to do and stuff. I know what the characters are supposed to say or not say and shit. It makes more sense than me trying to communicate a part. Plus, it'll be fun. So I told Kurtzman, I said, Kurtzman, I'm going to play the Bratzies now. He's like, I guess we don't need the bodysuit anymore. So we put on the headpiece and I went and did it. Had a fucking blast, man. I'm all throughout the movie. My kid kills me over and over again. It's a dream come true. But Jay was sad. We were coming to the end of the movie and Jay was like, fuck, man, I missed my opportunity to be in the flick. I was like, yeah, but with good reason. You couldn't do it and shit. He's like, I know, but I want to be in the movie too. I was like, well, we cast everything. We've already shot everything. There's really nothing left. He's like, dude, I want to be in a movie with Johnny Depp. That was never going to fucking happen. Could you imagine? I was like, I don't want to imagine it, man. Like, no, I don't think there's a place for it. He goes, please, man, what about the part Ralph was going to play? Ralph was going to play a small part in Yoga Hosers. He was in Tuscan, a small part, played Frank Dorman, a detective that leads our characters on. He was going to come back in Yoga Hosers, got a promotion. He was Commissioner Dorman. But he wound up actually getting a bigger role in the movie. He plays the villain in the third act, Ralph Dorman, because Parks couldn't do it. He got sick, so I had to replace him with Ralph. So that left this little role that I written for Ralph wide open. And Jay was like, can I play Commissioner Garman? And I was like, it would make sense. He's the guy. Should be Commissioner Garman. I only put it in there to throw him in the movie, but now he's in the movie in a bigger scene, so I was just going to eliminate that character altogether. And he goes, well, somebody's got to bring Guy Lapointe into the girls in the interrogation room. Can't you just make me a cop or something that does that? And I was like, I guess, sure, I could always start the scene right in the room, but if you really want to do it, I'll put you in there as a cop. He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'll work on the sides tonight. And I went home and worked on the pages that we'd shoot, called the sides. And, adjusting things, taking out Commissioner Garman, adding in cop, and putting one line for Jason to have and stuff. And then I'm looking at it and I remember something. And if you ever get a chance to make somebody's dream come true in this life, as long as it doesn't involve hurting anybody, take the opportunity, particularly if it's within your giving, if it's not something you really have to go out of your way to do and shit like that, just to watch their fucking expressions change, man. I remember this Q&A that we did where Jason was sitting around, somebody asked him a question, they're like, hey, if you weren't this guy, the guy that does these movies, Jay and shit, what would you have wanted to be in life? And without missing a fucking beat, as if fucking he'd been waiting his whole life for somebody to ask him this question, he goes, rogue cop. The audience laughed, and I'm sitting next to him. I laughed fucking even harder because I've been sitting next to this dude my whole life. I've never heard that. I was like, rogue cop? What the fuck? Where'd that come from? Why rogue cop? And he goes, I can't play by that fucking rules. So I just stuck with me. It's one of those things. I was like, that's adorable and shit. And there I am, fucking working on the sides. I was like, holy shit. I have an absolute chance to make this motherfucker's dream come true with few strokes of the keys, man. And so I changed cop in the script to rogue cop. I handed in the sides and shit like that, and went to work the next day, and that was the day that Jay was gonna work. I texted him, I was like, you got a part, dude, show up and stuff. He's like, yay. So he comes to set, everyone's like, Jay, it's your big day and shit, because he's finally gonna be in the movie and he's happy as fuck. And I'm hiding behind my monitor bag, man. I'm sitting there looking creepily like this, watching his every move. He comes in, he gets a pair of sides, then he goes over to his chair, he sits down, he starts flipping through them, he's looking down at himself, looking for his line, and this was his reaction. He goes, and he looks around and shit, and I stand up and I go, rogue cop. So he fucking did it, man. He was beside himself and shit. We shot the scene with him and fucking Depp, and like, you know, I'll never win an Oscar, but I fucking did that, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody was ever gonna put those two together, you know? I got to do a scene with, you know, where one of the world's greatest actors acts opposite one of the world's, like, actors. And it was bliss. Watching my friend act with him was cool, man. We did like 3 takes, and I had everything I needed and shit. And I was like, we're good, we're moving on. And just like Affleck, man, I was like, whoa, whoa. I mean, Jay was like, whoa, 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 dude, why don't we do one more? And I said, why? Why do you want to do one more? He goes, I want to ad-lib. And I said, come here real quick, come here. Don't fucking ad-lib. Johnny fucking Depp, dude. None of your snooking's bullshit. It's just... dude's a fucking legend and shit. He's like, no, I got something I want to do, please, man, please. And I said, all right, dude, don't embarrass us and shit. So he goes in and we do one more take, man. And I promise you, it's in the movie. He did something that was so good that I was like, fuck, I gotta keep it and shit like that. It's adorable. It's a scene, basically what happens is, he plays a guy, brings Johnny's character to an interrogation room. Girls are sitting in the interrogation room, cuffed to each other. Door opens, Jason Mewes pops his head in, looks both ways and shit. And he goes, come on, come on. Johnny comes into the room and he goes, you got 2 minutes. Johnny goes, I don't know how I can repay you. And Jay goes, no, that's okay. He's going, because this book is my Bible. And he pulls out a book that Johnny's character, Gila Point, wrote in Yoga Hosers. It's a book about the events of Tusk, a true crime novel, and he calls it Gila Point, the Quite Queer Case of the Manitoba Manatee. That's what they called him in that movie and shit. And in that world, the book was a complete failure and the critics hated it. So there's a running joke throughout the movie of that. Nobody likes this book. So Jay pulls his book out as a cop and validates fucking Gila Point in the last act. He's like, this book is my Bible and stuff. And then he feels good and we go on with the scene. Jay leaves the room. He's like, I'll stall him, and he's out. We did it 3 times. Perfect, man. Jay wants to go in for an ad-lib, and this was the difference. Same fucking scene, girls are cuffed together and shit. All of a sudden the door opens, Jay leans in, looks both ways, then he leans out, he's like, come on, come on. Johnny comes into the room as Gila Point, and Jay goes, okay, you got 2 minutes. And Gila Point goes, oh, I can't thank you enough, I don't know how to repay you. And Jay goes, no, don't worry about it, because this book is my Bible. And here's the ad-lib part. And he goes, and you're like a goddamn Canadian Batman, eh? I will fucking go to my grave one day, ladies and gentlemen. We all will. It's inescapable. That's why you want to go out there and do as many things as you can in this life, which doesn't include hurting people before you leave this best of all possible worlds. But when I do leave this world and my brain synapses fire their last, one fucking memory I will take with me straight to the grave is watching Jason Mewes do that and watching one of the world's greatest actors go, oh, what the fuck? I'm going to bring that guy out here in about 10, 15 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. That was the cue in the very long day. But to answer your very important question, I'm going to tell you right now, don't change what you do. Don't worry about trying to find audience. Audience will find you. The best path is always the one where you as an artist are masturbatory. And that's what you gotta be. That's why you do it. To give them your perspective, to share your fucking voice. That currency that is yours and yours alone. So don't worry about trying to get more. do what you're doing. Let them come around to you. That's my best possible advice. Take 10 minutes, go take a smoke break, please. We'll come back and do Jane Silent Bob Get Old. Thank you.